Kill me.
Well, I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you. You have part of my attention, you have the minimum amount.
I'm the guy who does his job. You must be the other guy.
You got a lot of problems, don't you?
Oh, it's good to be back.
I don't know. You don't know? It means all those questions, though.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore.
You can't handle the truth.
We're back. Boatman's frozen on a quesadilla ripping bite right now, which is the best opening of the show possible. He is hammering home.
Someone
screenshot
right that.
Screenshot it, send it, put it at the end of the year. Good God, he is powering that.
That's the new thumbnail.
That's what a Warzone single shit does. He just eats his food live on camera. What a savage. All right. We're here. We're in the final 2 episodes, everybody. Final 2 episodes. He left all the scene embarrassed. You should walk away. You should act ashamed. Top 20, everyone. We're at the top of the mountaintop. This will decide grades. Friendships will be ruined. People will probably cry. Koho will not have an older movie in this top 10 one at all. Koho. Well, first, Boatman, how are you feeling? We all saw you take a big old bite of that burrito or quesadilla. It was kind of sexy. How are you feeling?
They put way too much sauce on it, so like, but it's still good. I like the sauce, so it's fine. It's a good burrito. I don't know how I'll do this week. Maybe I'll win, maybe I won't.
I hate that I used the term sexy and then you said too much sauce. It was really disgusting in my eyes. Jake Maragoni, you have been here. You have had fun. The rest of us really haven't.
That's true.
But how are you going to do tonight?
Well, you know what? I won last week. That means something. I don't care if people say that was a sympathy, Like, you felt bad for me. I recommended a great fucking film. That's all that mattered. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes. I don't need to win anymore. That was never the point. I'm glad I won, but that's not going to happen anymore. It's going to go. I'm going to double down on the Jake movies, so I'm looking forward to it.
I'm so excited. Kirk, pretty much if this was trivia, you would be like 8-2 at this point. You've done really well throughout. You've been 6-2. You've been killing it. How do you think you're going to do tonight?
Tonight's going to be fun. Tonight's interesting because the hits really hit, but the misses, they're going to miss. So we're gonna have some ups and downs here, Cody. It's going to be a roller coaster ride, me and you tonight. Fun.
I'm so excited I shouldn't have ate dinner because I'm going to get sick. Koho, you are the only person to use a scratch, pretty much, an edit, a cut on your list. It doesn't come tonight. That's the curious. I don't know if it will or not, but we'll find out tonight. How do you think you're going to do tonight?
Well, you never gonna win. You're the sucks now. Never gonna win. You're the sucks now. This is when we hit the Koho movies. This is all the way to the home stretch. This is the movies that Koho watches at least 3 times a year, probably. So let's do this. I can't wait to lose abysmally.
Just a real quick, just to recap, I don't know how we decided it. I'm just going to let you all decide on the spot. Do you want to trade one apiece leading all the way through it? Or do you want to do the same order that we've been doing? Your question.
I want to do the idea of doing one apiece. I don't know how.
Okay, we will do one apiece. Let's do that. That makes it more interesting. We started an hour early. Just real quick, while I got the most audience members possible, like at the start of the whole thing, I'm just going to run through what's coming up currently on the next. We've discussed the next 2 months. I just want to do that real quick while we have everybody's eyes instead of at the end when we lose everybody. So, so we'll do this is the 20 through 11, and then we're doing 10 through 1. Then we're doing the recap special, and then we'll go back to normal. The first one is when we get back is going to be movies that deserve sequels. So that's going to be a kind of fun entry back. Not too much anger. Just talking about fun ideas that would have been good if they would have got sequels. The week following that is going to be best movies of the 70s, and Kirk is actually going to be hosting that one for us. So if you have a love for 70s movies, which is slowly becoming my favorite decade, I won't be there because clearly haven't seen enough to actually say it, but the ones I've seen, excellent. The week after that, we are going to do director, actor, and actresses combos, represented by one movie, I think, because I think that's always a fun setup where you have to pick one movie, so you both could have the same director and actor, but a different movie. Spark some conversation. The week after is going to be a Boatman week. We don't know yet. We've talked about walking. We'll see if that gets turned out. We will still discuss that one. The one after that is best film scores. So we're going to do scores of films. So that'll be kind of fun. And then the week after that, best 2010s movie scenes. No comic books. No comic books. So best just the scenes in the movies. Because there's a point to that at the end. The week after that is the best musicals represented by one song with Kaleb Koho. So it's going to be musicals. It's going to be give that week. And we're going to do something new starting in October. We're going to do this probably every other month, every other 2 months, give or take. We're going to do a top 40 special. And top 40s is comic book movie series. So basically, same panel, 4 people. If you're interested in comic book movies, I need a top 40 list and you to commit for 4 weeks. If you can't commit, please don't be a part. I can't have a dropout in that. So if you're interested, please send me your list. And then if that one does well, we have a lot down the pipe. Me, Kirk, everybody, we're talking about it. We have a lot of fun ideas if those take off. So, Boatman, we are here. The top 20. What is your 20?
Okay. My number 20 is a little movie that I actually just rewatched recently. And I feel like if I would have rewatched it sooner, it would have been higher. I am going with Little Miss Sunshine.
That was my 51.
Too soon.
All right. So just to be clear, I start with this. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure because of the change. This is like an amazing ensemble film. Steve Carell, Alan Arkin, Abigail Breslin, like the whole list goes on. The cast is perfect. I love the way this film balances the comedy and the drama. Like, there are so many really, really funny moments in this movie. The cop pulling the family over with the porno magazines. There's so much fun. Like, I think one moment that is both, like, really sad and really funny is when Dwayne finds out that he's colorblind. Spoiler alert. Probably should see this movie. But anyway, and the horn is still honking. That moment is really great. I just think there are so many like great moments. I love a road trip movie, and like this is just one of my favorite road trip movies. I love the family dynamic in here, and I think this movie's amazing.
Awesome. Koho. We have the same idea. Thanks, Koho.
We did. I have the same idea. We're just sitting here. We're just in the middle of the conversation. Little Miss Sunshine, my 51 would have been higher also for me if I had probably made this list a little bit later. This movie's beautiful. I think it's one of the best written movies I think I've ever seen. Just from the way when we get to the diner and they all make their food and drink orders, and how much just what they order says about those people as characters and kind of lets you in on who they are. I think this is my favorite performance in his career. I think he's fantastic in this movie. And Alan Arkin's phenomenal. I'm still mad Abigail Breslin didn't win the Oscar for this because she's also great. She just radiates pure joy throughout this movie in such a charming way. It's a great ensemble film, and I love it to death. It's a great choice.
No one else had it, right?
No.
Okay, so this is one that I saw back around the time that it came out. And I liked it then, but I never really caught it since. And I think it deserves a rewatch. It was one that I've done a lot of trying to watch things from your guys' list. This one just wasn't wasn't on my radar because it was the 20th. So it's like trying to get stuff from the top 10. So I need to definitely really check it out. I liked it when I saw it, but I wasn't in love with the film. So maybe as I've gotten older, maybe I'll find more appreciation for it. But you and Koho both like it, so I don't know if that's going to be true. What does the other two say about Little Miss Sunshine?
The other two.
I really like Little Miss Sunshine. I like films about messy people and messy character dynamics. and this is just such a great example of that. I love Greg Kinnear's character and just how he's so sure he has everything together, and he so does not. And I love that kind of character, and I love watching someone who thinks that discover that they don't, and the way they go about that. Just the whole family has so many problems and so many issues. They learn to kind of like learn from each other and to not necessarily overcome it, but just kind of live with it and deal with it. And I love that kind of movie. So yeah, this is really great. Fantastic cast, this movie.
Yeah, I remember seeing this on quite fittingly on a road trip. Yeah, I really like the movie. It's kind of sweet and charming. All the performances are great. I think Colette and Kinnear are like underrated, like especially compared to like Carell and Arkin and Breslin. It's just like a straightforward story, and that works for the movie. Like it's a goal and a purpose. I like the movie, but I just I think Little Miss Sunshine's a little too high. But I mean, to each his own. Honestly, I'm gonna have some crazy picks anyway, so who am I to judge? But yeah, no, it's a nice movie.
Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna be able to say much after tonight's episode. All right, so we're going. Jake, what's your 20?
Get ready for number 11 because it's gonna be big, or number 12. Number 12. Well, let's get to that. Number 20 is I think I didn't really get a chance to talk about this one, but it is Nocturnal Animals. So this is a 2016 film directed by Tom Ford, fashion mogul Tom Ford. It's interesting because he's like before this he made the film a Single Man, sorry, and back from 2009, and it took him like 7 years to make another film, and this is it. And it's an insanely well-written mystery thriller about a relationship, and it's about a couple, Amy Adams and Jake Gyllenhaal, and Gyllenhaal's a writer, and he comes back after a couple of years and then sends a manuscript to Amy Adams, and she starts reading it, and it's a story that has a lot of parallels with their relationship, and it starts getting dark and twisted, and it starts to affect Amy Adams, and it's kind of like what art can do to and inspire and leave a reaction with people, and that's kind of why I like this movie. It's just one of those really fascinating stories, and you just start to see like a lot of what built the relationship. It's incredibly brilliantly performed, and the acting is like incredible. Aaron Taylor Johnson and Michael Shannon have just fantastic roles. Michael Shannon got nominated for an Oscar. He's really, really, really good in the movie. Aaron Taylor Johnson gives probably the best performance of his entire career. You would not expect a performance like that from the guy who played the second best Quicksilver. And it's just really dark and has one of my favorite endings to a movie. Not going to spoil it, but just that open-ended yet bittersweet for what happens is just so beautiful. And it has just one of my favorite, like, underrated scores of the 2010s. I'm trying to remember who did the score. Ludovico Agnardi, I think is his name. And it's just a really deeply eerie, fascinating score, and I really dig it. So yeah, underrated film from 2016. I recommend a lot of people go see it.
The only thing I think I know about this is the trivia question that gets asked about this movie is like, what is it? The book they're writing or whatever it's called, Nocturnal Animals. Is this the one I'm referring to? It's like something like that. That's the only thing I know for this movie. I haven't seen it. There's no, I have not. It's not interested in me. I heard mixed things when it came out, and especially when I hear mixed things, it's more or less a Jake movie than a Cody movie. So, what does everybody think about Nocturnal Animal?
Didn't see it.
I really like this movie. I love the way it's paced. I love how the two parallel stories kind of play off each other, and you learn about the relationship between Gyllenhaal and Adams through the story that's written, that's being read and being told, and just the way those kind of play out together. Gyllenhaal's really good. I mean, what his character goes through in this story is really rough and really hard to play, and he plays it really well. Michael Shannon is really good at it as well, and the way they play off each other, their relationship is really good. This is again not my top 100, but I've only seen it once, but it's still a really solid movie.
It's fine. I could care less about everything with Amy Adams' character in this entire movie. I think she's a block of wood. I think the story in the book is far more fascinating, and if the whole movie had been the story in the book, like the entire time, would have been great because Gyllenhaal is great. Shannon and Aaron Taylor-Johnson are both phenomenal, and I love every time that they show up. But when we have to cut away from everything that happens within the story, within the book, and go into the real world and just see Amy Adams mope around her kitchen, or flashback to her and Gyllenhaal at a dinner somewhere and arguing, I'm completely just over it. So it's fine. It would never sniff my top 100, but
yes, and Nazaria, I did have the list, but let me let you in on a secret. I had the list and I watched Eraserhead, and I shouldn't have done that. So guess what? Sometimes the list doesn't mean
that was your fault.
True. I'm not saying, again, Jake, one time I've never blamed you, but I'm letting you know right now, just because you put shit on a list doesn't mean I'm going to watch it. I haven't seen half of the person I've seen the most of is co-host because I was alive. Okay, Kirk, what's yours?
All right, my number 20, Koho, it's here. You've been waiting 8 weeks for this, buddy. 2 months, we finally made it here. My number 20, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. See ya. Okay, I guess I'm the host now.
Never gonna win.
Never gonna win.
Never gonna win.
I guess that makes me de facto host. Cool. No, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the newest movie on my list. I think it's the only 2019 movie to make my list. I love this movie so much. When I went in to see this, I remember hearing reviews everybody talk about, said, yeah, it's good, but it gets slow and boring in the middle, so, just be ready for that. And I'm sitting there watching the movie, and I'm like, oh, I really love this movie. It's so good. I hate that it's going to get slow. I hate that it's going to get boring, but it never happens. The movie just ends, and it was fantastic. I love everything about this. I love that Hollywood in 1969 is a character. I love just the time period as a character. The scenes like Brad Pitt driving his car home, and just the sound of that car and the lights. This movie plays out like a dream. This is Tarantino's best looking movie as far as I'm concerned. I just love like the constant ambient sound of the cars and the music and the TV commercials. Just so great. The scene at the ranch, just so much suspense built up there. It feels like the opening scene in Glorious Bastard. Just so much like tension built up. Pitt's great, obviously. DiCaprio's great, obviously. Margot Robbie is really good as Shannon Tate. She is, I think, just the way the character's written, I think she's more symbolic. Like I said, this movie's like a dream, especially with the way it ends, obviously. But it's almost like a dream sequence. I think her character and her role is a lot more symbolic than meant to be like a real person. But yeah, this is just such a fun movie. I love just like all like the old Hollywood cliches that they play with, and just like that idea of that washed up actor and trying to keep going. It's such a fun movie. I love it very much. So, and it's okay for Hollywood to make movies about Hollywood.
Hey, Kirk, I'm just confused. We went to 2 different schools. That word doesn't mean fun is not what it means when I was taught it. Because this movie is the opposite of that. This movie has nothing. This movie is just literally
right there with you.
It has no direction. There's no direction. It just goes. We're in old Hollywood. Let's have fun. You're right. I heard the same exact thing. But no. I get to yell at Koho. I yell at you too. You shush. I sat there and I heard the same things that you heard. The middle. Watch out for the middle. It gets very boring. It gets very slow. No one fucking told me about the beginning, or that we had to wait till the ending. The ending. By the time the ending happened, everyone's like, "Just wait. If you've made it this way, wait till the end. You'll love the ending." I was half asleep. I watched it twice. I think this movie is trash. I do. I think again there are bright spots. I'm not going to say Brad Pitt and Leo are terrible in this movie because that'd be a lie. They're good for what they're given. If Tarantino made this as his first one, you get a pass. But the man has the biggest ego and strokes his dick everywhere he goes. And this is the one he delivers with all the money and all the budget and all the time that he gets. And that's the thing. Stop sucking old Hollywood's dick for 5 minutes, people. Like, good Lord, that's what it was. And and they sell you in one way, and they don't even pay that. Like, it's not what that is. That's not what the movie was. The whole lead up to this was this Manson. It's Manson. It's telling a story about that, and they fucking jerk off for an hour and 50 minutes of it before it even cares about Manson. Like, don't tell. I was so interested to see Tarantino do something about Manson. That's such an interesting idea. And then he made the film he made. Oh, this movie's top 20. Kill me. Kill me. I'm glad I've seen the rest of your list because I would have kicked you off the show, I think. Oh, God. Hey, you sure you don't want to use your one scratch? I'll let you take this off there and put anything you possibly could think of higher. And another Tarantino. Is this your highest Tarantino? No, it's not. I don't think so. Okay, never mind. Oh, everybody
right there
else
with Redshaw. Don't be ashamed, Redshaw. Be proud. It's a great movie.
Redshaw, I heard that you're afraid of me. My anger. I will yell at you.
I'm pretty
Everybody
sure
else.
you are closer to Redshaw than you are to me distance-wise. So Redshaw, be afraid. He will show up at your house at night with a rock.
I haven't one time. All right. What does everybody else think about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Go, Jake.
I'm glad it's not on my list because I get to say I actually really love this movie.
Of course you do.
To the extent of Cody. I think this is just a really fun. It's weird to see Tarantino go in this direction because we haven't really seen him, make essentially a comedy drama before. I really love the chemistry between DiCaprio and Pitt. They're fantastic. I'm still shocked that Pitt won the Oscar. I think he's fantastic. Especially during the last 20 minutes, it's just glorious. And you were on a horsey. All that is so good. The ambiguousness of if he killed his wife is so good. It has so much in common with what's in the briefcase in Pulp Fiction. Just the ambiguousness of did he or didn't he? And it's a big discussion. Is he a killer? And there's so many great moments, and just it's a love letter to the '60s Hollywood, the innocence that once was. And even though it takes an interesting turn, I appreciate for what this film is trying to do, and I like that.
Oh gosh, I wish they could just get in contact with a love letter instead of writing a letter. Maybe just a phone call and be
before anybody says anything else. I just want to call out Spence right now. They're trashing this. Spence, if you ever make a top 100 show, Cats is going to be in your top 10, so I don't want to hear about it.
Facts. Okay. I don't hate this movie as much as I used to, but I definitely wouldn't let it sniff my top 5 Tarantino movies either. I still this is a solid 3-star movie. It's not offensively terrible, but it's not spectacularly, shiningly great. DiCaprio and Pitt are both really good in it, but I don't care about the first hour of this movie. I like those two and their chemistry, but nothing happens. There's literally nothing going on for most of this movie until we get to the end. And that kind of sits pretty rough with me, especially because I was really excited for it. And then I got it. I left disappointed. Every time I've watched it, I've been a little less disappointed just because I focus on those two and maybe I can find a little bit of enjoyment out of it. But this is definitely not a top 5 Tarantino and nowhere near my top 100.
Barr, I've seen your top 100. You shouldn't be able to talk either. Go ahead, Boatman.
For those of you who haven't been paying attention, ensemble cast films, comedy drama, old Hollywood, movies where most of the dialogue is just pop cultural references. These are the things that make a Boatman movie, TM. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is 100% a Boatman movie, and I really enjoy it. I have a really good time watching that one. I watch that a lot. I do see the technical problems of the movie, though. I do feel like the movie is very bloated. I like that it's bloated. It's like a burger with absolutely everything I love on it. But if you don't love those things, you're not gonna love the burger. So I love it, though. I think
you like a burger with ape shit on it. That's really disgusting because that's what that movie served. All right, go on.
We're staying in Tarantino. We're gonna stay in Tarantino and go somewhere that is leagues better, in my opinion, with my 20, which is Reservoir Dogs.
That was my 27.
That was my 97.
And Bo, did you have it?
36.
36. All right, so we all had it, so we can all talk about it. Reservoir Dogs is like a movie that I never really like sat down and grasped and appreciated when I was like 16 and watched it for the first time. I was like, this is cool. And every time I watched it since when I was 16, I'm like, oh fuck, this movie's like actually brilliant. And started like really getting into movies. I'm like, this movie's excellent. Keitel is great, and the way that he defends Tim Roth, who I think is brilliant. Buscemi's incredible. I think Buscemi as Mr. Pink is so fucking good. He has the best part of this movie, which is the I don't tip. The I don't tip sequence is so good. I think this might be Tarantino's best written movie. He just crafts this like sort of caper gone wrong story so well, framing it almost like it's a play in a single location. And every character in it's really interesting to watch, and just how their personality kind of is revealed in that first scene. Everyone's going to bring up the first scene, so I'll just bring it up before everyone else can. It's a brilliant first scene, maybe the best first scene in a movie ever, and sets the tone of all these characters. Yeah, I love this movie. Every time I watch it, I love it even more. So yeah.
Pause before Kirk gives us off. This is 26 on your list. You have Once Upon a Time higher than Reservoir Dogs. Oh, you just lost more credibility. Go ahead and start talking about how much you like this movie.
Shut up, Boatman. Wait till we get the top 10. Yeah, I love this movie. This is such a good cast of characters. I can't think of a movie that has such perfectly written characters, so perfectly cast, firing on all cylinders the whole time through. When I go away from this movie a lot, in my head, it starts to kind of feel dated, like it's like a 90s dorm room movie. And every time I come back to it, I'm like, this is just fantastic. We talked about it a little bit with Kill Bill, how Tarantino is so good, especially early on, at just taking like actors like a Lawrence Turney, like a Chris Penn, and just writing them a perfect character and letting them go and getting an amazing performance out of them. Every character in this is great. Everybody is so well defined. Keitel's great. Specifically, Tim Roth is amazing. I love the scene, just the way he plays. You see what he's going to do so much later in his career, playing with like time and point of view. The scene where he's with the drug deal speech, and it's seamlessly cut with him being introduced to the idea of the drug deal speech, to practicing the speech, to practicing it in front of the guy, to telling it, to being in the story itself. And it just so seamlessly cut and seamlessly written. And that's just such like textbook Tarantino. Yeah, this is a really great movie. I mean, come on, guys. In the grand scheme of things, if you're looking at it from 1,000 feet away, this and Once Upon a Time are right on top of each other. They're right there next to each other. So everybody relax. Be cool. They're both great movies.
Yeah, I had it at 36. I think this movie has one of the greatest opening scenes in any movie ever. Like going from Mr. Brown, let me tell you what Like a Virgin's about, and then Mr. Pink giving the I don't tip speech. Like that set the tone for not just the movie, but for Tarantino as a whole. Like that just let's dissect pop culture in these different settings. Like I feel like that's just Tarantino's like motif. And I think that so many great dialogue scenes in this movie. And just one of my favorite little details is after Mr. Pink, says he's not going to tip, and Joe comes around and he's like, who didn't tip? Who's the first person to rat out Mr. Pink? It's Mr. Orange. Because it's those slight little things that give away like the character motivations. Like that. Okay, I'm sorry. I think that's a nice little character detail. Wow.
It's cool. I just love the way that you presented that. It's like mic drop.
People that haven't.
Fair.
And one other thing about this movie too, that I forgot to mention, the soundtrack. Soundtrack of this movie is amazing. It's probably Tarantino's best soundtrack, and the way it's weaved through the narrative and the radio show, and Stephen Wright, which is another perfect casting job, and him playing like the Greek chorus through the radio's bits, fantastic. So good.
And then I had this at 98. Yeah, it's really hard to say anything else than what these three guys have said. Reservoir Dogs is one of the best debuts for a director ever. Brilliantly written. So many great moments and memorable scenes. And I think that's just something that Tarantino just knows how to do. Like, I mean, stuck in the middle with you sequence with the guy in the chair is so like perfectly. He just knew exactly what to show and what not to show, and I think that just kind of shows like what kind of talented director Tarantino was going to become. So.
Let me tell you about one of the best opening scenes in any. No, I won't keep reiterating. This is definitely in my top 3 of Tarantino. I absolutely think this movie's incredible. Just because it's one of. I mean, it's so cut down from what he has to do now in all his films. Like it's just straight like a crime film. And again, the whole tipping scene, the entire like drive back to the place, like while Tim Roth is dying in the back, and Harvey's like,
"You're gonna be okay. Say the F word."
Yeah, like those scenes are there. I don't think everybody's perfect in this movie because I think Tarantino is terrible as an actor. Like that's one of the roughest parts of anything. He's just bad. But again, I take it for what it is. I don't give that a downvote because of it. I just don't think he's great. But everybody else in this movie is incredible. And it's still, once you know everything about it, it still holds up so well. Still, it's so rewatchable. And that's something that this movie could lost if it wasn't done well enough. So, top 20, I respect it. All right, Boatman, what's your 19?
My 19, I feel like it's probably going to be a yikes, but it's Goodfellas.
Yikes.
Yeah, because of course.
That doesn't make any sense.
Of course.
Why would he yikes that? All right, Jake, what's your 19?
My 19 is I'm glad to get to talk about this one. Match Point. Woody Allen film from 2005. I've never really had a chance to talk about Woody Allen. I guess in this era, kind of hard. Say what you will, I think he's a fantastic writer. He's written some, I think, great films. Always liked a lot of his movies. This is my favorite of all of his movies. It's just such an interesting. It's a lot of what he's done has been romantic comedies, and I like when he just takes a different shift and turn in what he is trying to talk about. And this film's about chance and luck. And are we born with luck? Is it something that exists? Is it beneficial? Is it, is it not as good as it could be? And the idea of a murder. And it's about a person who starts dating a woman who's in a wealthy family, and he starts to fall in love with another woman, played by Scarlett Johansson. And then he starts having an affair with her, and then things start to get a little too complicated, and he has to kind of choose between which woman he wants to be with. Does he want to be with the woman that he actually loves, with ScarJo, or does he want to be with someone who can provide wealthy finance for the rest of his life, with Emily Mortimer? Main character is played by Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. He gives a fantastic performance, a really underrated performance. There's a lot of small, minute stuff that he does in his performance that gets really overlooked. And it really just deals with the idea of chance and fate, and just the idea of, can things go right for you? And it's just, I find that really fascinating. It's one of his best written movies. Woody Allen himself has said it's his best movie. I mean, he says that about a couple of his movies, but I think like this one is really fascinating in his entire filmography, and I would highly recommend it. Really fun, simple, but also just has like really interesting themes that is good. And this is one of the first films he did when he went to UK and started making a bunch of movies, and I just think I like that UK mentality in the movie. So yeah.
Okay, nothing against it. I haven't seen it, probably won't watch it, just for personal reasons. It's kind of hard to grasp into that when, if I would have watched it before, maybe, but right now, I'm not going to get into that stuff, but yeah, that's number one reason why I didn't watch this. Everybody else on Match Point?
I just haven't seen this one. I've seen Vicky Cristina Barcelona, one of the other Scarlett Johansson collaborations, and I really like that one. I'm meaning to check this one out. Just haven't.
Yeah, haven't seen it.
Okay,
Don't know much about it, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, Kirk, what's your 19?
All right, time to get back on Cody's good side. We're snapping back around. My number 19 is 12 Angry Men.
Yikes.
I still like that there was a delay on that, especially when we all knew where it was going. All right, Koho, take it away.
First stop on the train of movies that people aren't going to be on my side on. I'm ready to explode the chat in two. We're taking one last stop at the Star Wars train, and it's not the one Kirk thinks we're going to. We're going to Star Wars: The Last Jedi. This is,
Here we go.
in my opinion, this is the best Star Wars.
Brooklyn.
Everyone drop your Star Wars rankings in the chat for Brooklyn. This is definitely the one that I go back to the most. I think this is the most interesting one just in its concept to me. I love the way that Rey and Kylo play off each other. Both their performances are at their best. This is the best Driver and Daisy are in the entire trilogy. I love Poe's arc. It's one of the more underrated ones that I actually really like, how he goes from hothead flyboy who doesn't give a shit about anything except what's in front of him to kind of becoming the leader that he needs to be by the end of it. I get I get everything. I get everyone's things about Dern and Canto Bite. I've heard it all. It's a broken record. I guess I just don't see Dern that way, and I can forgive Canto Bite when I can't forgive a bunch of different things that Star Wars does. I think Canto Bite's not nearly as atrocious as everyone makes it out to be. And Mark Hamill's at his absolute best in this movie. He is his best Luke Skywalker in this. He gets so much to do. He gets to be a great finale to this character with looking at the dueling suns as he goes. Is great. Yeah, I fucking love this movie, and I refuse to apologize for it. I had an 8-hour conversation with this man about this movie before. Okay.
Does anybody else have this?
No.
Thank God, no.
Okay. So after my last rewatch, I don't understand. I've said it before. I don't understand the fandom behind Star Wars. I just don't. Because, like, I understand those original three. That's like a world that you would like to just stay in. The rest are just hit and miss or just bad. They set up rules that don't matter, but they say they matter, and then they'll bring something back to say they matter. This is why I'm a huge, and I hear people argue all the time. I'm against when you do a trilogy that's supposed to be set in thing. I'd rather one director take us through the journey than multiple directors take us through the journey, because it is literally like J.J. Abrams was playing with a doll and Rian Johnson grabbed it, cut off its fucking head, and threw it in the garbage disposal. And then the next one came on, and he tried to glue the head back on and put it all together.
That is
so
perfect.
Wow. I get it, because it's the most different. It's the most different for people, and that's why a lot of people that are not Star Wars fans cling to this movie, because it's the most different. But this movie's fucking boring. This movie I've fallen asleep in more times than I would like to even count. I remember sitting in the theater, and every moment that happens, Snoke goes dead. Oh shit, what's going to happen now? Fucking nothing. The light speed jump, that's really cool. We don't get to see that anymore, because that's something that can't happen anymore. Like, they all just set things up that are cool or do something, but don't cash in on any of the problems. I like the characters. You said Poe, but too bad there's another movie. The reason this movie falls, and I'm one of those people that if a sequel ruins a movie previous to it, it does affect my ranking for it. It has to, because I don't get to see that arc continue. Poe gets set up beautifully, and they slam him down in the next one. He's just a flyboy pilot again. That's all he is in the next one. So that's fine. They try to give you some backstory, but it's nothing personal. I just find this movie boring. Canto Bite, say what you want. That scene will literally put anybody to sleep. And that's Wizarding World meets Star Wars. I've said it before. It looks like we go into a place in Hogwarts, and these fucking creatures are all lying around, and one's playing the slot machines in BB-8. It's just a mess. They kill Snoke and set Kylo up to be the path that he is, but then he's just a whiny emo wine bag that gets mad at Luke Skywalker. They bring Yoda back. It's just a bunch of shit that I just can't stand. And that's just because I like Force Awakens. I liked what they did. I wanted to see it continue. They fucked it up. And that's fine. I think you would have made a fine movie. It's just they don't play, those things do not play together at all. Go the fuck away, Brooklyn, with your smell.
How did we jump to volume 5? I thought this was the first one.
He smells. Okay, anybody else? What about Star Wars: The Last Jedi? I mean, it's a broken record in this community, but I'm curious.
Jake, you go first. Kirk and I have strong opinions.
Oh, here we go. So yeah, like I said on an episode a couple of weeks back, I'm done with Star Wars, and I think this is the movie that started that cynical look at what Star Wars has become. Yeah, I 100% agree with what Cody was just saying about give it singular vision throughout the trilogy, because then it just feels completely clunky and not. It's trying to tell it like an overarching story. So why would you give it to a guy who's definitely not wanting to do that? I must be in the. I don't know if I'm in the minority. I like The Force Awakens a lot. I wish they continued with that story. I wanted to see what was going to happen with Force Awakens. They set shit up. I don't hate this movie. There's parts of it that I like. There's parts of it that I don't like. I think this is fine. If you really like this movie, good for you. If you don't like this movie, good for you. It's just not really one of those movies that I really care about. I do not like that they set things up and then just don't even go with it in the movie. Because there's stuff that's set up in Force Awakens that they don't pay off, but there's stuff in this movie that they don't pay off, with the Master Code Break and all that shit. And what happened to Benicio del Toro in the next one? Didn't even come back. I don't have anything else to say. Yeah, that's it. Like,
trash.
Well, you know,
let's die. Let's
Captain Phasma. Oh yeah, we'll slow her down the fucking drain too. She was really cool. The first one. Okay, who wants to go first? I don't know what side you both sit on, so.
I'll let you finish it up because I feel like I know where you land, Kirk. I'm sorry. I love this movie. This is the best Star Wars movie because it's the only Star Wars movie that isn't up its own ass on, oh, look at this. No, this movie is basically like...
Go rewatch it.
Okay, cool, Cody. This movie is basically like, hey, you know everything that's really not great about Star Wars? Here's why it's not great. Let's get rid of all like the legends and mythos and like I like my least favorite thing about Star Wars.
Everything good about Star Wars.
Everything is connected. Everything is this. And like my favorite thing is Rey's parents like just being nobody. I love that idea. Let's break away from like everything about Star Wars before. This movie made all the fanboys cry, and it's great. It's great. I know I'm gonna die. Hit me.
Hold on. Why would you watch the movie then? You don't like Star Wars.
Exactly. Thank you.
That's the whole problem.
Thank you.
That's the whole issue. Like that's the problem that I see when people are like, "This throws everything that Star Wars out because that's what makes it good."
Yeah.
Then call it something fucking else.
Exactly.
Make Ryan Johnson make a space movie. Don't put it on Star Wars that has 40 years of people loving the series.
It is not a Star Wars movie's job to point out everything wrong with Star Wars. That is such an asinine thesis. How stupid is that? Hey, here, come pay your $12 to see Star Wars. Guess what? Star Wars sucks, everybody. Here's 2 hours why Ryan Johnson doesn't like Star Wars. Have fun. And
it's better than every other Star Wars movie.
So you don't like Star Wars. That's fine. Okay. But it's such again they set up all this stuff about like you guys said, they set up so much great stuff in the first one, and then it's literally, I mean, that first minute when he gets the yoink, that's just a big middle finger to everybody. The lightsaber over the shoulder. It's just like, well, screw you guys. You waited 3 years to hear the end of that story. No, you get to hear the story that I want to tell. I do agree. If the path that this movie took with Rey and the other characters was part of an overarching vision that started the first movie, it may have worked. But the fact they slam on the brakes, turn completely around, and say, "Forget all that stuff back here," it's so bad. And just that idea, like, oh, we love this so much because it's not just for the Skywalkers. You don't have to be special to use the Force. Yes, you do. That kid at the end of the movie with the broom, check that little punk's midichlorian count. It's through the roof, I guarantee you. That kid is very special. That kid's family is very special. If they made a movie about that kid, he'd be just as special as the Skywalkers. And guys, it's called the Skywalker Trilogy. If you don't want to watch movies about the Skywalkers, go watch something else.
I would like to go watch something
else.
Kirk! Don't watch a Star Wars movie. Watch another movie.
Kirk.
I would go watch another Star Wars movie that's not about the Skywalkers, but both of them suck. Rogue One and Solo.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
When I think you could do anything right, then you totally redeem yourself. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood never happened this list in my eyes. Kirk is now at a clean slate. Thank you, Kirk, for defending that in the best way possible.
I've never had a bullet just get shot at me and see someone in slow motion jump in front of it for me in my life. Thanks, bud.
And I've never seen someone jump and take a clear headshot. Like right out of it. He got taken off his fucking feet.
Boatman just jumped right in the way.
What's your 18? What's your 18?
My 18. We're having fun, aren't we? Let's have more
Maybe.
fun. Yeah. I can actually find my list again. Okay, here we go. My 18. I'm gonna redeem myself a little bit. It's Back to the Future.
Fuck yes.
Okay.
No one else has Back to the Future? Fuck you all.
Wait, no one else
I
has
was
Back.
born in the 80s.
Wait, no one has Back to the Future? Okay, I'm gonna take it. Go ahead.
Hey. Yeah, this is one.
I wish you wouldn't have said the shit earlier.
Yeah, we're gonna just totally forget everything I said about Last Jedi with this. Yeah, like this movie is legitimately one of the greatest blockbusters ever made. Like seriously, every character, every moment, every line, like there are so many. This is just perfect, like fun. Like Marty McFly, just one of the coolest, most fun protagonists ever. He's a little bit of a slacker, a little bit of a screw up, but he's super fun. I love Doc Brown, crazy scientist, and then you gotta love you. Get your damn hands off her, George McFly. Is
Christopher Walken's in this movie.
That was actually a pretty good Christian
really
good.
George McFly is like one of my favorite movie characters ever. Get me a milk, chocolate. I love so much about this movie. I could quote this movie like all day. Yeah, he's gonna be mayor. Like, there's just so much about this movie I love. Like, it's just,
I like the sound.
It's just a perfectly built screenplay. Like everything about this movie. Ronald Reagan, the actor. Like, it's just such a fun look back at like 50s from the lens of the 80s, and I just love that so much.
No one else had Back to the Future. Well, okay. So pick the movie that when I'm in a bad mood is the movie that I put on and watch instantly. This movie arguably be in my top 10 films of all time, probably top 5. I think, again, I have a whole year till my top 100, so a lot of things can change. But this movie is brilliant from start to finish. It is the most quotable for me. I probably quote it where people have no idea what I'm quoting, but I do. I think I've said "you mutating son of a bitch" numerous times just because I can. Because when he comes back and comes out of that suit, just all the 50s and 80s references are great. Like especially when he goes, "It's past John F. Kennedy Boulevard," and he goes, "Who the fuck's John F. Kennedy?" Like he doesn't say "fuck," but it would be a lot better. That's my one F word that I would always add to Back to the Future. Yeah. Mayor Gordy Wilson. This is one that's still special because they haven't touched it, and Zemeckis and them have said that they're not going to touch it, and I'm hoping they stay true to that. I really do. Everything is bound to, but this is literally perfect. I've done like duo and drama on this production because I think they're both Marty and Doc are just a perfect dynamic. Power of Love is one of my favorite songs from this movie. I think it's a fantastic opening. Huey Lewis is the one that says, "Man, you just sounds a little too loud," which is hilarious. When he does the guitar riff and at the dance, he's like, "Oh, you guys, your parents are gonna love it," like, or your kids are gonna love it, or something. I think this movie's incredible. I don't like the second one as much, but I still like the third one. I think it's a great trilogy, honestly, and Back to the Future is awesome. What the fuck? Oh, because you weren't born in the 80s? Well, guess what? Neither was I, so can try to defend it now. Go ahead.
Neither was I. I'm the 9-year-old.
I'll go ahead and just straight up say that I fucked up and this should have been on my list and I completely overlooked it. This would definitely be on my list. I just completely messed up. And yeah, I hate myself.
Okay. I think the trilogy overall is fucking outstanding. Great movies. I love all three. I love Part 2 a lot. I like the Western one, Part 3, and I think they're all great in their own individual way and as a trilogy. I love Back to the Future. There's a lot I really like. Crispin Glover is fantastic. It's his second best performance. Creepy Thin Man from Charlie's Angels is number one. Don't at me. Everyone is brilliant, and there's a lot of great references. It's not a Jake movie in the sense that it's going to make my top 100 favorite movies. I think it's a great movie, but it's not going to make my top 100.
Yeah, go ahead. The guy wearing the Ghostbuster shirt. Go ahead.
Ghostbusters was on my list. This movie, and I'm not just saying this to suck up, I'll send you screenshots. Last year when I did my top 100, Back to the Future was on it, and this year it probably eked out somewhere. I'm guessing it's in the top like 103, 104. It's very close to making my list. Back to the Future is a great movie, great screenplay, so much setup and payoff. I just love the little touches like the Twin Pines and the Lone Pines Mall and stuff like that. Right. Just so many little playing so many things. The score is the best score ever written for a movie like this, not written by John Williams. It just so perfectly expresses the feel of everything that's going on in the movie. So it is because I went last and I had a lot of time to think about it. That's why.
You're right.
So yeah, Silvestri's score is so fantastic. So yeah, this like I said, it just barely missed my list.
Who's the vice president? Jerry Lewis? Go ahead, Jake. What's your next one?
Oh, it's gonna get yikes. It's No Country for Old Men.
Yikes!
Kirk.
Okay, time to talk about a good Star Wars movie. My next one is The Empire Strikes Back.
Well, I thought we were on 17.
Empire. We'll get there. Don't worry, Kenny. We'll get there.
I know.
I know you're excited. Empire Strikes Back. I think this is a movie that transcends. I know we talked a lot about the fandom and being over Star Wars. I think this is the one that transcends Star Wars and is a good movie outside of the trilogy, outside the saga. It's just a really solid movie. I think this is the best story. This has a lot of my favorite visuals in Star Wars. When I think about Star Wars, I think about Hoth, I think about Dagobah, I think about Cloud City. That fight between Vader and Luke in the chamber, when Vader stands up here, he's just in the shadow, and his lightsaber keeps on. That's like one of my top 2 or 3 like single frames from Star Wars ever. You have probably the best score of Star Wars. I will take the Imperial March over Duel of the Fates. It's so good. I mean, you have the story, you have the Han and Leia, their relationship expanding. You have the they delve into the mythos of Vader. Yoda is so good. I mean, Yoda, CGI or puppet, is never better in the saga than he is in this movie. Frank Oz is so fantastic to take that puppet, literally a puppet, and turn it into a live, breathing thing that is real and is a real person. So yeah, this is absolutely my favorite Star Wars movie, best Star Wars movie. Again, like I said, it's just a great movie on its own.
Did anybody else have Empire?
No. I don't know.
Okay. So yeah, I will agree with Kirk. I think this is the one that does transcend the series itself. I think this overall is fantastic. It's probably the most memorable one in pop culture. It pretty much takes the whiny Luke Skywalker from the first one and makes him like a Jedi, like an actual and makes him matter. I like the development with all the characters. That's why I enjoy the New Hope, Empire, and Return as this overarching thing that makes perfect sense. Because George Lucas had a heavy hand in doing the overall story behind them. But the Leia, everything I just think is brilliant. It leaves you wondering in this one always. I still get chills when I hear the line from Vader. So, yeah, I don't have any problem. I would personally not have a Star Wars in this high because I'm just not that big of a fan of Star Wars at this point, just because this community has driven down our throats. Again, check out Multiplex Entertainment coming out with a new show hosted by Kaleb Boatman and Brooklyn Vail called The Jedi Become a Jedi Master. It's going to be a great show. We're working on different series. But yeah, what does everybody else think about Empire?
I actually will say, if I had to pick a Star Wars movie that is an actual Star Wars movie that is my favorite, would it be Empire? I do think this is the best of like the actual Star Wars movies. Last Jedi is not really a Star Wars movie. I do think this movie is actually. I like the darker elements of it. Lando, I think, is just, I really like the dynamic of that character, Billy D. Williams. I love all the stuff with Yoda. Yoda might be my favorite Star Wars character just in general. So I think this one, like A New Hope, I think Luke's like way too whiny. And you can argue part of that's the character, part of that's the performance. But I think in this one, like Luke is really good. The dynamic between Han and Leia, like, is the best in this movie. And I think Darth Vader, like, go back and look at New Hope. Everything feels like very underdeveloped. And of course it does because it's A New Hope and like things are still like being put together. This one feels like a very like epic movie, for lack of a better word. I did, Barr.
I would just like to say I've never seen someone so masterfully backpedal so far back because they realized they were going to lose the show if they didn't. I know for a fact Boatman's lying when he says this is his favorite Star Wars movie. Anyway.
My Last Jedi is my 1. Empire's my 2. That is correct.
Okay.
I will
Jake,
show you my ranking.
Jake, go ahead.
When we think of the music of Star Wars, it's Empire Strikes Back. That is number 1 score because it has all the motifs from the first one and it introduces the Imperial March, Yoda's theme, Leia's theme. This is one of the greatest scores ever, Empire Strikes Back. John Williams is one of the greatest composers. He is a true maestro. I am just done with Star Wars. I just really want to talk about why this is the best of the scores. I don't know what Boatman's doing. He's looking at his letterbox rank. I like Star Wars, but I'm in this community and just with Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi, I just don't really want to talk anything else about Star Wars.
That's fair.
So Empire's good. I think it's a tish overrated. For me, it doesn't crack my top 5 Star Wars movies because for me, I've always said that I will always respect it. There are a lot of individual pieces of this movie that I fucking love. The score is great. The Act 1 battle at Hoth is great. I love the entire third act. I don't like the second act of Empire. I do not like everything that Han and Leia do out in space. I think it's a waste of time. They don't really have much importance except any shot that they have together in a close quarters of the Falcon. Otherwise, they don't do much. And when they get to Cloud City, their story really kicks off and I enjoy it. If the entire second act was Dagobah, maybe. This is my least favorite Luke Skywalker of Star Wars' entire run. Because I think that he's more compelling when he's whiny because you are not supposed to like Luke, but you're supposed to sympathize with Luke. And now he's the most boring he's ever been when he's in this sort of work in progress phase where he's not good, but he's not a bad character. And then Return, he's interesting again. I don't know. Again, I've said this a lot. I'm outspokenly just not an Empire fan. But it's not a bad movie. It's a good movie. It's just not a Koho movie.
That's one of the dumbest fucking takes I've ever heard in my life.
I'll take it.
Dumbest fucking takes. I'll tell you a bunch of characters in Last Jedi that don't fucking pay off at all. Okay.
All the Last Jedi characters are better.
Okay. Fuck you.
Luke Skywalker's better than Last Jedi. The second act of Last Jedi I'll take every day over Empire, but okay.
Yeah, I'll take
Decorum.
I'll take Vader and Palpatine over the actual Palpatine over anybody. Go ahead, Cole. What's your next one?
So my next one is not going to give me any goodwill either. Life of Brian is my favorite Monty Python movie. So here, let me explain. Holy Grail is objectively the better movie, but for me, as a kid who grew up going to church and learning all about the messianic sort of story of Jesus and all the things around it, this one hit a lot more home to me as being funny. I understood a lot of the jokes and a lot of like the Romans occupying Israel humor works for me. A lot of just the back and forths of like, where it's like, you know what the penalty is for harboring a fugitive? No, it isn't. Crucifixion. Could be worse. Could be worse. It's just, I love the Monty Python back around applied to a different setting than Holy Grail. The humor works for me better in Life of Brian personally. I go back to that one more. And I think that just comes from my background. But I do think Holy Grail is a better movie, but Life of Brian is a more fun movie to me. And I'll always take Life of Brian over it. I laugh harder at that. I love John Cleese in this one a lot. I think he's really, 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 really funny as one of the Roman centurions. And Graham Chapman is so funny as Brian. I think every situation that they put him in, he just kind of crushes this sort of like reluctant like hero sort of thing where it's like, stop, I'm trying to quell the situation and no one listens to him. It's just really funny. It just works for me. So yeah, it's one I've watched a lot. I like Monty Python. So.
Okay.
And Biggest Dickus. Thank you, Barr. Biggest Dickus is hilarious.
So this is a recent watch of mine. And I famously give it one. I gave it 1 star. And I think that might be, on retrospect, too high. I sat there the entire time with this face, just blank stare, just not laughing a damn bit. I don't like Monty Python. It's just out there.
That's
I
fair.
don't like Monty Python. I don't find that shit funny. It's not my kind of humor by any means. I know this community. This community loves it, and I watched the first one, which I won't. I watched the other one. I won't talk about it in depth, but I was like, "What the fuck?" And then I watched this one, and I was just like, oh, "It does get worse." Like, I've watched some Monty Python shit that I find funny. Like, I've seen some. Like when the self-defense class. I don't know what it's from, but when he comes at him with a banana. And he drops something on him, and he came out with a banana. That shit was funny to me, and I laughed. This movie just tries to kill that. And there's another scene in another movie that I laugh at. But other than that, I don't give a fuck about Monty Python in the least. So everybody else that actually maybe appreciate Monty Python, go ahead and
I'll leave the room.
talk about it.
I think that.
Okay. Sorry,
No, you can go ahead, Jake.
Okay, I'll just keep it short. Yeah, I saw this movie a few years ago. I like it. I think it's pretty funny. Biggest Dickus is like the standout to me. I think this is funny that it all comes down to just a stupid name. And yeah, I think there's good elements. The satirizing of Jesus is definitely a controversial subject, and they know exactly where to go and where not to go. And I think that's a good job.
Yeah. My biggest problem with this movie is I think comedically Monty Python are best when they have a bit more like free range and they're able to still have like a loose narrative, but not kind of be grounded. And I feel like Life of Brian just feels a little bit too grounded by the narrative. And that's where I think the movie brings down because it's not able to kind of go as zany and crazy with it. I still think this movie's super duper funny. But I don't like it as much as the other one, which we'll talk about later. But I do think this one is a lot of fun. Obviously, Biggest Dickus I think is a lot of fun. And always look on the bright
side of life.
3-hour episode, folks. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I'm on record not a Monty Python fan. I have a feeling I'll get to expand upon that further on down the road.
Kirk, you just keep doing well. Boatman, what's your 17?
My 17 is one of my favorite crime films, one of my favorite biopics, and it has the man, the myth, the legend. Catch me if you can. Cool little Mike's fell in a bucket of cream. Mouth. I love this movie so much. I love seeing Frank Abagnale pull off all his cons and check fraud and everything and seeing him impersonate. And I love how close he gets to being caught and how he gets away. It's just so fascinating, so interesting. And I love the dynamic between him and Carl Handratty, played by Tom Hanks. I think they're like back and forth of you kind of want both to succeed. You sympathize with both. I think is just so fascinating. And that's something that could really backfire. And this movie pulls it off perfectly. And then this movie is just filled with like amazing supporting performances. You have obviously Christopher Walken as the father, and I think it's Christopher Walken's best performance outside of The Deer Hunter. Then you have Martin Sheen. Amy Adams is fantastic, young Amy Adams. Jennifer Garner's in that movie first scene. And I think this movie is just like, it's Spielberg, like very stylized, and I really like it. Another thing that I really love about this movie, I'll be honest, I think this is my personal favorite John Williams score. I think the score for this movie is like super duper underrated. That like I think that score is like just really epic, and I love this movie in general.
I'm sorry, but apparently you've never seen A View to a Kill. So if you want to talk about Best Walken, have some fucking respect on that. Catch me if you can. I'm so excited because I'm doing a Spielberg watch, and I'm so excited to get back to this one because I really, really enjoyed it. I think it's in my top 5 Spielberg on my last watch. Just because obviously I'm a huge Leo and Hanks fan, so those two playing off each other I think is brilliant with Spielberg's directions. I always love this movie more because Chance Ellison is a bitch and hates Leo, and he complains and whines about it because, oh my god, Leo's in a movie, it's gotta be shit. The man's watched Wolf Cop. He's honestly a terrible human being if we boil it down to it. So yeah, absolutely think this movie is great. 17 maybe a bit high, but I'm excited on rewatch. Maybe it would go higher on my list. So I'll give you a pass for tonight. Everybody else on Catch Me If You Can.
It's been a long time since
hold on. You also said shit about Jurassic Park earlier, so I'm not going to forget that shit when Catch Me If You Can. So you don't get a pass. You actually get disrespectful. You're in the doghouse. You said I'll name 5 better Spielberg movies than Jurassic Park, and that's what you said, and I remember it all the way back from '92. So fuck you. Go ahead.
When I had it on my list.
I like this movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I was like 16 when I saw it for the first time. I remember enjoying it a lot. It's just been a long time since I've seen it. I should probably revisit it. It could crack my top 100 after watching it again. But
yeah, I saw it when it came out, and I just rewatched it for the first time probably in the last 6 months. Yeah, it's good. Hanks is great. Leo's great. I think they're both playing like the kind of characters that they do best and playing off each other. And like Boatman said, I love movies where you have two characters on completely opposite ends who want completely different things, and you're rooting for both of them. You want to see both of them succeed. That's for a great story, great movie. So yeah, again, it's not anywhere near my top 100 now, but if I rewatch it a few more times, it might get close.
Yeah, I like this movie a lot. Paul alluded to it in the chat. It's kind of a sad movie. I mean, the setup of the movie is a divorce, and it's all about just him trying to help his parents out and make his father happy. And the relationship between DiCaprio and Walken is really just kind of touching. And Walken gives probably his last great performance. I mean, I hope that he does something better in the next couple of years, but I think he's really, really great in Catch Me If You Can. I prefer the other Spielberg movie of 2002 to this one, but this is a great movie. Amy Adams is a standout. She's really great, like her first great performance. And I really like, just...
Sure, you have not seen Drop Dead Gorgeous, obviously.
No,
sorry.
That's not even a joke.
Okay. Jake,
didn't mean to get caught up.
17?
Let me just remember. Yes, my favorite romantic comedy, and that is Punch Drunk Love. Absolutely fan-fucking-tastic movie with Adam Sandler's greatest performance of all of the films that he's done. Great film about a man who sells toiletry items. He falls in love with a woman, and he's kind of a crazy person. He's a very Adam Sandler man-child, and the whole film's just about him trying to break out and be a better person while trying to start a romantic relationship with Emily Watson. This is just a really charming, sweet movie. I think I've always loved Paul Thomas Anderson. He's one of my favorite directors. I think this is when he started to have a shift in his career. After he had big successes with Boogie Nights, and then he did his own passion project, I guess, with Magnolia. Didn't do well financially, so he's like, I'm going to keep it small and simple with the next one, which is why I went to go do Punch Drunk Love with Sandler. And Sandler gives like literally the greatest performance of his entire career. I know a lot of people like Uncut Gems. I think this is the standout. This really shows what he can do with the right director, of course. He just gives so much great subtlety and mannerisms in his performance, and the way he kind of talks to himself is really like mumbling through certain moments. There's a scene where he goes and meets his 7 sisters, and they're talking about an incident when he was young, and they keep bringing it up, and they keep using the R word, and then he just smashes and gets crazy on the house, and it's just so good, and it's very satisfying later on when I wouldn't say he one-ups them, but he gets even with them and basically just yells at them for being terrible sisters. And it's about a man who just breaks out and just unleashes like all his rage in a sense of against people who have basically put him down. And it's funny because it's got shit about pudding and using that to get frequent flyer points, and there's some just really great stylistic choices. There's great animated interludes throughout the movie that really add to like this sweet kind of style to it. Philip Seymour Hoffman is fantastic in the small role that he has. There's a specific phone conversation he has with Sandler where he says "shut up" like 100 times. It's great. And yeah, that's that, Mattress Man. I think it's great, really fun, and it doesn't always leave on a happy ending. It's very ambiguous, and I really like that. And yeah,
I've seen this one.
Also, shut up. Sorry. Just one more thing I want to say. Shout out to score by John Bryan. I think it's a unique score, especially of the time period, and I think it's fantastic.
You've already passed your 14 minutes of a talking point on 17.
Right.
I've seen this movie once. There is no secret that I think both Andersons should just stop making movies. To be honest with you, I don't like them. I think this movie is fine. Sandler is way better in Uncut Gems. I'll stand by that. But I don't hate this movie like to the level I hate Magnolia. So, fine, sure, it's a Jake 17 if I've ever seen one, but it also is not going to win you the episode by any means. Everybody else on Punch Drunk Love, and you didn't have it, so don't talk forever because I know we're doing 3 hours, but gosh.
This is one I saw. It kind of came and went for me. It's one of those ones where maybe I go back and there's something I missed. But as of right now, it's not on my radar top 100 wise.
Koho.
I haven't seen it, but I don't really like PTA. There hasn't been many PTA movies that have actually hit for me, so there's a very slim to none chance that I would like this. So,
I love everything with Philip Seymour Hoffman in this movie. Like, legitimately, Philip Seymour Hoffman is incredible. The shut up scene is like just amazing. It's
great in everything.
Yeah, I mean, he is great in everything because Philip Seymour Hoffman is legitimately one of the best actors of all time. He's great in Magnolia. But yeah, I really like kind of the twists and turns that Barry's journey takes as things kind of slowly go wrong for him. I think the movie's great.
All right, Kirk, what did you think about Punch Drunk Love? Did you say anything?
Yeah, it's one of the ones that just came and went for me. I've seen it, but I don't think it's bad. I just don't remember a lot about it.
Fair. All right, 17, Kirk.
My number 17. Here we go, Cody. It is The Odd Couple. This is my favorite Lemon and Mathau. They are just so great in this. It's a great comedy. They both play off each other so well. It's like at certain points, they both get to be the straight men for the other one's like foibles and just different, the screwy things they do. I mean, my favorite scene is when they're in the diner and Lemon's honking to clear sinuses, and Mathau's just looking around, cut that out, will you? and just him them dealing with each other, and just being that odd couple, two completely different guys. Learning how to kind of just be friends and help each other through. And I love how real their friendship is, how the relationship is. They're not just tolerate each other; they really do love each other. Just that scene where he's like he throws his neck out or something, and he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, I'm gonna try some. It's so great. Just so much silliness. The supporting cast is great. The poker game scenes are really good, and it's really a much better looking movie than like a small little comedy based on a stage play has any right to look. Like the way they shoot the apartment going up and down the hall is just really well done. So yeah, I love this movie. I think this is my favorite comedy. I don't think I have any straight comedies higher than this. It's comedy. It's not. There's no jokes. It's just these characters being their characters and reacting to each other, and that's what makes it so beautiful, so great. I love it.
So peek behind the curtain. I played Oscar in high school as Odd Couple. So this movie has such a special spot in my heart. I think I'll wait for anybody to name a better comedic duo than Mathau and Lemon. Your time's up. You have it. They are absolutely perfect. No, absolutely not even fucking close. Disrespectful that you even would say Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. They are fine in their movies. They don't hold a candle to these two. I still laugh the entire scene when he's kicking Felix out of the apartment, and he's like, "I looked at this note for an hour, and it took me an hour to figure out." It said something Oscar F U. Took me to figure out the FU stood for something else. Like he's like, I want you out. I don't care how it is. Out the window. Just leave. He's just done with him at this point because he lets him in because this guy is struggling. He's going to kill himself because his wife left him. And Mathau goes, sure, we're buddies. You can live with me. And about 20 minutes in, he's like, what the fuck did I do? This dude is driving me batty. It's if me and Boatman got an apartment together. It's the closest thing that would fucking happen. He's trying to entertain women, and Felix is clearing out his throat, and he's like putting like doilies all over the place. He's like, "Will you stop?" It's a super over like macho slob of a man with this uptight person. If you haven't seen it, it is one of the most brilliant comedies that has nothing extra to it. It is it's literally like they picked up a camera and shot two guys that are it's me and Boatman in this thing. It is absolutely a perfect film in my eyes. I think this movie is great. I didn't think this community would ever talk about The Odd Couple. When I saw it on Kirk's list, I was so excited. So please go see it if you haven't. It's one of my favorite Neil Simon plays out there. It's great. They shine better than this in this one than they do in any of the other ones that they star in. Fortune Cookie, Grumpy Old Men. This is the perfect one in my eyes, 100% of the way. So everybody else on The Odd Couple.
I haven't seen it.
Never seen it. Really want to.
I have seen the 2018 version about Mark Andreyko and Jeff Snyder when they won teams belts. That was a pretty good story. But other than that, I have not seen this one. I'm sorry, I had to.
I don't want to kill myself. Okay.
Mom, where do we keep the blade?
There's another one for the clip show. Okay.
I hate that when I mention the shred out. It's kind of funny.
You should have drank it. You should have drank it when you talked about Last Jedi. Okay.
Fair.
Koho, what's your 7th?
Every time Boatman backpedals, I want to drink the bleach myself. Okay. So my number 17, in hindsight, would be higher. And should be higher than it is. My number 17 is Finding Nemo. I talked about last week that I think Ratatouille is the best. I think Nemo is one of my favorites. It actually, at this point, probably would be my favorite, but for the purposes of this list, it's not. Nemo is a brilliant fucking movie. I think it's Stanton's best one. It's his best script by far. I think Albert Brooks is phenomenal as Marlin, who is this really great character of just this worrying dad. And I think this is probably my favorite Ellen performance also. Like, this is the best Ellen's ever been, is just as Dory in this movie. She's fantastic as a foil to There's not a lot of options, but I'm taking it. All right,
I'm Mr. Right fan, are you?
That was my stop. That was my stop. I was like,
I realized it when I said it. We're moving on. We're moving on. No, but they have a great chemistry and dynamic together throughout this entire movie. I love Nemo with the tank gang for his segment of the movie, and the way that Gil kind of mentors him. Willem Dafoe is really good as Gil, and I think a great part of this movie is that the more, like, when you watch it, each character that you meet has a little bit of baggage, just a little bit. Even the funny characters have a little something that they're carrying with them, like every single one. I love every stop along the way in this sort of road trip movie to get the line and the scene that will always make me cry is the end, where it's that parallel of just let me do this. You think you can do these things, but you just can't, Nemo. And then by the end, he's just, I know you can do it. Is just every time makes me just bawl. Finding Nemo's perfect. I love that fucking movie.
Anybody else have Nemo?
No.
Okay, so this movie I just rewatched with my kids for the first time, and this probably is now my favorite Pixar movie of all time. And the reason why I say that is because when I first watched this movie, I was Nemo. I was fifth grade, sixth grade. I wanted to do my own thing. I thought going into seventh grade, that entire thing when I watched it more, I thought I was bulletproof, and now I am Marlin. I would do anything to protect my kids. Like what Marlins, you would go across the ocean to help your kid if you could. And it was that flip that happened when watching this movie for the most recent time. And literally in tears watching it, because it's such a true story that Pixar can do that. They teach you a message in 2003 or whenever this movie came out, and then flipped it on its head now in 2020 in my eyes, because I never saw it that way before. I think it's brilliant. I think the opening scene is so heartbreaking. To see Nemo, and it's funny. It's honestly a funny movie. Ellen is the best she's ever been in this movie. There's not a huge sample size, but
she's actually one of the better parts of the movie too. Which is
she just really is, because it's the straight man versus the basically the straight comedy versus the slapstick the entire time, and the people they meet along the way. It's a good road trip movie. It's actually really touching. So I respect it a lot more than I did. So it probably burst on my top 30. So well done. Everybody else on Nemo.
I mean, automatically this movie has to be considered brilliant because it has Albert Bartholomew Brooks in it. So that makes it one of the greatest movies ever made. But legitimately, this is like everything. All I would be saying is everything else you guys said. It's fantastic.
I feel like I should.
Go, Jake.
Sorry.
Right.
I feel like I should have an affinity for this movie just because it takes place in Australia. I need to have a rewatch on this. It's been a while since I've seen it. I've seen it so many times as a kid. I just never had the chance to really decide to rewatch it. I rewatched The Incredibles a week ago, and I thought that was fantastic after saying I didn't like it. So who knows? It probably will be the same effect of Finding Nemo. I really love the tank gang. I think they're all great. Dafoe is just awesome, as he always is, as the lead of the tank gang. And that's about it.
I'd probably put this like top 4 or 5 of Pixar, and that's not a knock against it because I mean it's really, really good movies ahead of it. The point to it, like the message is probably the best Pixar message. I love the character of Marlin and just the fact that he's so terrified of everything in the ocean, but he's not hesitant to go face all those things the instant he has to go save his son. That's so telling about that character. The tank is great. I love how they sell like that prison break aspect of it, and they sell it so straight when their plan is nonsense and it's not going to work. But they sell it like they're all so into it. That was always like, that's always been like the funniest thing to me is just them their plan. A lot of great characters, great story, great looking movie. That all that underwater stuff is so amazing. The scene with the whale and just the light coming through the water and everything, really, really beautiful movie. Yeah, so I mean this is a solid pick. Yeah, Finding Nemo.
Okay. Well, cat's on the table. I must have been talking too much. All right. So, Bowman.
Okay, we go back over to me. To my 16, Michael Campbell, where you at? Going with Amadeus.
Yikes.
Sit the fuck down, buddy. Go. He just told you. All right, Jake.
We get to talk about the best, my favorite Michael Haneke movie, The Piano Teacher. Damn, I was expecting a yikes from that one. So this is about, as you could have expected, a piano teacher, Erica, played by the amazing Isabel Huppert, and probably her greatest performance that she's ever given. She lives with her mom, and she starts an interesting relationship with one of her pupils. Based on that, you can kind of expect it to go one way, but it's not exactly that kind of movie. This is the only Haneke film, I believe, to be based on a book. He writes all of his other movies, but he did write this one, but this is based on pre-existing material. And it's about basically a woman who has sadomasochistic tendencies. She likes to cut herself. She likes to watch voyeurisms and watch two people having sex at a drive-in theater. It's eerily, deeply... Yes, this is the sex one, as I'm explaining to you why. It's basically about a woman who tries these sort of stuff. Like, she still lives with her mom. She's one of my favorite characters in any film. I've always, throughout this entire series, I've talked about character studies, and I'm a big fan of that. And this is probably the best one, honestly. Erica is such an interesting character, and the way that she presents herself to everyone is so cold and uptight, and she doesn't like to show any emotion. And with this student, a lot starts to change, and she starts to think about, getting into a relationship that he is not into, but allows her to do this sort of stuff. And it's just really eerie and deep, dark, and I just love that Haneke is just able to present everything in such a precise manner. And I just think it's a really fantastic movie. Some incredible performances. The music's also really good. You get to really see a lot of the classical music really be portrayed in the movie. And I also think one of the an ending people would not expect. I won't spoil it, but it's definitely going to make people not satisfied with the experience of watching this movie. It's Haneke at his best, and everything about this movie is just fantastic. Not for the faint of heart.
You've done something. Oh, anybody else have this? Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I don't.
So this you have something very special. Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it. So the interesting thing is you have done something consistently this entire series, and you pitch movies awful. I'm not gonna see this. That doesn't sound like anything of a fun time that I will have. I'm glad that she likes to experience that stuff. I don't know how long the movie is, but I ain't gonna experience it with her. So I'm passing that one. Anybody else on The Piano Teacher?
Fuck that. I'm good.
Would I like this, Jake?
Oh, hell no.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
I feel like I've seen this movie because I've had to read the Wikipedia synopsis about 30 times because they keep using Michael Haneke as a strength.
Twice.
Well, you've used it more than twice.
Okay, I've used it more than twice, but it's been used twice. Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but respect, Jake. This is your list, man. You're doing you. So.
What was it that Kirk was the only sane person who would agree with that? It's my fucking list.
Okay. Kirk.
My number 16 is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. This is a really fun movie after the missteps of Temple of Doom. I know some people like that movie, but it was after Raiders. This is just kind of fell flat. They go back to what works. Chasing, racing Nazis in the desert for a biblical artifact. They bring back Sala. They bring back Marcus Brody. They bring back so much of the heart and what worked in that first one. And they add Sean Connery as Henry Jones Sr. And the relationship between those two He's only in one movie, but when you think about Indiana Jones, you always think about Sean Connery too. You think about that relationship that's so core to the whole story now. The River Phoenix part at the beginning with young Indiana Jones. In a lot of movies, that would come off as just really cheesy and stupid, but it really works, and it's a lot of fun. And it's a lot of like little cool ways, like they do the hat and the scar on the chin, and they show you the ways he got to. It's kind of dumb that he got it the same day, I admit that, but it's still an issue. The way that oh my god, the way they blend that into seamlessly when he puts the hat on, he comes up and he's on the boat. I love that transition, and it just the whole movie is a lot of fun. It's an Indiana Jones adventure again. We'll probably talk about the other one later, but so I'll get into comparing them. But of the three that we talk about, this is my second favorite Indiana Jones movie.
So your why you have a cat is the reason I never want a cat, because a cat doesn't give a fuck about what anybody else is doing. Last Crusade is my favorite Indiana Jones. I'm not like some people. I don't hate Temple of Doom. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's great, but I don't think it's as bad as the fourth one that came. So Last Crusade is one that hurts the most because I missed a trivia question on this that'll never live down in my heart. But overall, this movie is great. I think the Connery and Harrison Ford's relationship in this movie is something that I always look for. It's also the perfect cap, because I will never watch the fourth one again. It's the perfect cap to these. It ends perfectly for me. There's the funny lines. I think the actions in this one's better than most. So yeah, great choice with Last Crusade. It's my favorite. So everybody else on Last Crusade?
Yeah, I actually had this at 75. I'm sorry, I should have interrupted.
Yeah, you were tabbed out. It's fine.
I was tabbed out. Anyway, I really love this one. I think this is like kind of the seeds for the more National Treasure style. I love all the puzzles. I love all the games. I love like the Penitent Man, or like the spelling out of the Jehovah on the floor. I think that's really, or is it Yahweh? I don't remember. But anyway, I think that all those puzzles at the end are really cool. And then you have chosen wisely. You have chosen poorly. I think that's really great.
This was legit like my 104. Both of the Indiana Jones that I like were very close. This was so fun. I think Connery and Ford have such a great dynamic with each other, and the story of this one is really, really fun. I love the cheesy prequel opening sequence a lot. Like, I like what Kirk said. I get like why people would be like, that's so cheesy. I fucking adore it. I think it's so fun. Yeah, this movie's dope. It was very close.
I think the opening's great because it just basically tells the story of how he got that scar and how he got the hat. That's it. It's great, and I think it's fun in and all of itself. The Last Crusade, I think it's great that like the third in this trilogy, because this is a trilogy, it's about the Holy Grail, like something as big as Jesus and that whole story. And I think that's really fun. And the dynamic between Connery and Ford is fantastic. Like when they're stuck in the chair, like Dad, what? It's all good. And when Connery destroys the plane with the pigeons on the beach is one of the greatest scenes ever.
Hey Kirk.
Yes.
What's the worst Indiana Jones movie?
The one out of the ones that actually exist?
No, all four.
Oh.
All four.
Oh, Crystal Skull.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
Yeah.
Koho, go ahead.
So we're about to hit a lot of movies that you're used to hearing me talk about. This is one of them. Number 16 is The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. This is my second favorite Disney movie of the animated ones. This one was one that I came across sort of by accident at one point when I was like 11, 12, and I fucking love it. It's just so charming. I love the animation of both these shorts is really well done. I love the Wind in the Willows story, but I like the Ichabod story more. which is like the reverse of most people's opinions. I have always had a soft spot in my heart for the story of Sleepy Hollow. I love the Headless Horseman and everything about that story is so fun and definitively Halloween spooky time. Wind of the Willows is a really fun sort of autumn story. I love it. I watch it every fall a couple times. It's short. It's brilliant. I get why people don't. This isn't a movie that everyone's gonna love, but this is one that I fucking love a lot. The Headless Horseman chase sequence is one of my favorite chases, and it's one of my favorite sequences that Disney's ever animated, just because it looks really good and it's so exhilarating to watch. And even though I know what happens every time, I'm always just like hoping for a different outcome than what happens. The music's really great. I love the songs that Bing Crosby sings. They're not necessarily the most memorable, but when you hear them, they're fun. I love this movie.
Oh, you're the best. You always complain that Boatman backpedals.
I'm not backpedaling. I stand by everything I'm saying. Okay.
It is like we've not said anything. Facial expressions alone. It is like you're walking down your hallway and a pipe burst in your fucking wall, and you put your hand up, and then another shoots out, and you're just trying to cover the bullshit as it's coming out of your mouth. There's like the songs, they're not memorable, but they're good, and they're okay, and like you're trying to believe your own selling point on this movie. I like the Sleepy Hollow story. I just don't want to see it done by Disney. That's just personal. I just don't find that fascinating. Have you seen the Burton one? I'm just curious.
I have. I think it's fine. It's a very different take on Sleepy Hollow, and I like it for what it is. Okay.
Yeah. I have seen this movie once when I was little. Before I met you in this community, didn't think it was and it would seem like exactly what he said, two shorts that were thrown together and it's a movie. That's fine. It's just nowhere near, and I think it's insanity to put it in the top two of Disney. What does everybody else think?
I have not seen The Adventures of Ichabod, Mr. Toad. I have ridden Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and that'd probably be my top 100 Disney World rides, so whatever that's worth.
It's the only Disneyland ride that ends with you going to fucking hell. Yeah. That ride's metal.
I enjoy this movie for what it is. I love the Wind in the Willows segment. I think that's just a lot of fun, crazy slapstick. The Ichabod segment I think is good. It's not my favorite, but I get why Koho loves it. It's got a lot of good gothic energy.
I haven't seen this. I was going to mention the Ben one. I like that one a lot. So.
My only thing, Koho, is I used to watch a movie called The Borrowers when I was younger, and that's not still my favorite movie. So go check something else out. It doesn't mean just because you were in love with it as a child doesn't mean
I love it still every year.
Okay. All right, Bowman. What's the next one?
Okay, my next one is my number 15, which is my favorite Coen Brothers film, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Is this where it stops?
I knew it wasn't going to end.
Who else had this? I don't know.
I don't think
somebody else had Oh Brother?
Nobody else had Oh Brother. Okay. Anyway,
it's getting pretty lonely at the top.
Anyway,
it's pretty lonely at the top. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that this movie is just such I love the dynamic between the characters. Right, you got George Clooney, who is he's a walking thesaurus at this point, just with very heightened vocabulary, and that's a lot of fun. All right, any of you boys Smithies, perhaps? If not Smithies currently per se, were you Smithies in another life? An unfortunate circumstances brought you away. I love Tim Blake Nelson and John Turturro, and then the entire cast of supporting characters. It's such a unique adaptation of the Odyssey, and kind of doing it set in a Depression era South. I think is just super interesting. The music, fantastic. That soundtrack is amazing. And the way this movie looks, this is one of the most gorgeous movies ever made. It's fantastic. Do not seek the treasure.
This is number one Coen Brothers for me with a bullet. I think this movie's incredible.
No.
When John Goodman is great in this movie too, when he just knocks out all the people, just gets all mad. I also love when he's like, "Oh, I was just baptized and forgiven of all my sins, including that Piggly Wiggly. I thought you said you never did that." Well, I lied, and that sin's forgiven too. This is just one of the governor, mayor, whatever, he's running around for re-election, and he talks to his son, and he's like, "If your mom was still alive, she'd die ashamed." Just because he hates his son. Like, there are so many comedic moments. It's like, just use some of this script. Well, I'm a Dapper Dan man. I'm not wearing that shit. Like, he gets so frustrated throughout it.
I'm a Dapper Dan man.
I don't want to do it, but I have to do it because it's still one of my favorite quotes in the entire movie is, "Why do you keep telling the people I was hit by a train? I was hit by no damn train." Like, Mama said you got hit by a train. Like, those moments kill me. I'm sorry, Koho. I don't mean to rub salt in the wound. It's still just one of my favorite parts of that entire movie. I wish when we did watch alongs, I wish we did this one. I think it would have been such a fun idea to do this as a group. Quality. Boatman, you're doing well tonight. You're doing real well. Everybody else on Oh Brother.
It's not one of my favorite Coen Brother movies, but it's also one I haven't seen in a while. It's good.
Fair.
I like this movie. I love the dynamic of it just three dumb guys, and one of them has a little, he's just as dumb as the other three, but he has a little bit of charisma, so he's like the de facto leader, and they follow him, and they have no clue what they're doing. They just kind of like bumble through the story. That's a lot of fun. And there's three great characters, like Boatman was saying, or Cody was saying, I think both. The side characters are so great. And just like the comment on like life in that era and those people is really good. So yeah, again, I don't love Coen as much as a lot of other people do, but this is still a really solid movie.
My Brother is the second Coen Brothers film I ever saw when I was doing like my Coen Brothers marathon 5, 6, 7 years ago. I really like this movie. I really love that this is one of the first films to digitally process the films when they were allowed to create that sepia tone that Deakins wanted, or Coens wanted. There's a lot of technical innovation with this movie that I really am fascinated by, and not anyone in this community, unfortunately. But other than that, I think the story's fun. I really like the fact that it's just a curveball of an adaptation of Homer's Odyssey, and I think that's really fun. The fact that they got a Cyclops and it's John Goodman as a KKK member, but he only has one eye, it's just, I think that's pretty funny. But yeah, it's good moments.
Okay. Jake, 15.
This is going to be good. Michael Campbell, where you at? We're going to talk about the greatest comic book movie of all time. That is Spider-Man 2. Thrown at me, best Spider-Man movie, Spider-Verse, shaking my head. This is fan-fucking-tastic sequel. This is what you call one of the greatest sequels of all time. Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, James Franco all come back. And what I love the most about this movie is that it explores greater themes that the first one set up. And this is about just the idea of being a superhero. You have to juggle your life and being Spider-Man. And it's not going to always work out well. He gets fired from his job at the pizza shop. God damn it, Mr. Aziz. He's late for class. Dr. Connors is going to he's going to fail his course, and then he can't go to an 8 o'clock show, see Mary Jane. She's becoming a big Broadway actress. And it's just... Well, meanwhile, Doc Ock is becoming a supervillain and trying to make a new tritium fusion reactor, and it just really deals with the themes of just being a man, being Peter Parker, and being Spider-Man, and that's what makes this one stand out from all the other comic book movies. This is a huge step up as far as the CG and the filmmaking. This is when he gets Dick Pope on as his cinematographer, not Dick Pope, Bill Pope. And it just looks fantastic. Raimi is allowed to use the budget to do exactly what he wants to do. The hospital sequence with the origin of Doc Ock, he kills all the doctors, is terrifying. It's one of the best scenes for a PG-13 movie. They're able to show a lot of violence without actually seeing any blood, and anything I wouldn't work for that type of like R-rated type of movie. gets away with a lot. Raimi's a master at that sort of stuff, and I think that's why, being a horror director, he's one of the perfect people to make like a comic book movie, because he's able to really just like juggle the tones of this movie. There's a lot of great comedy moments. The Asian violinist in the streets after Peter misses the play is so hilarious, and there's just a lot of great action scenes. That when Peter loses his powers, he goes into the building and he has to save a little girl, and then he realizes there was another person and he couldn't save them. There's a lot of big themes that the film deals with, and the train sequence during the third act is fantastic. One of the best action scenes between Spider-Man and Doc Ock. There's so many great moments. Like, if you look at the action scene, there are a lot of moments throughout that sequence that I think just make that action scene so good. And I think this is a fantastic movie, and I'm just so glad that MJ finds out that he is Spider-Man. I would, as a kid, never seeing that concept come into play, and seeing that the love interest finds out that Peter Parker's Spider-Man, especially of what happens in the first film. I think it's just so satisfying and fulfilling. I think this is a fantastic movie.
So Spider-Man and the X-Men are my two favorite comic book characters of all time. They're the only comics that I actually ever read, and I enjoy it. This is no longer my favorite Spider-Man movie anymore. It used to be. It's not. It's been overtaken, but it's not Spider-Verse either. I just find I love a lot about this movie. I just think Toby and Dunce are not great in this movie, if we're being honest with ourselves. If we come back to layers, they are not that great. But overall, when Toby doesn't have to be Peter and he can just be Spider-Man, it's really good. And when MJ's not on screen, it's really good. That's basically. But Doc Ock is one of the best movie villains of all time. He just is. I think a lot of people have not been able to top his performance, and I think he's gone underviewed now. Now that all the MCU and stuff is out there, I think that no one goes back to Alfred Molina as how brilliant of a villain he actually is in this movie. But 15. This is one of the most Jake picks that could be out there, and I respect it. And I give you a complete veto for this, because my 9-year-old self says you're fucking right, Jake, and there's nothing anybody could take away from us. So I'll give you the biggest veto ever on your 15. Everybody else on Spider-Man 2, Koho can go last because he's a fucking hater.
I really enjoy Spider-Man 2. I think my favorite part is when Peter puts away being Spider-Man for a while. I love the raindrops keep falling on my head montage with him eating the hot dog. That's just one of my favorite cuts or edits or whatever in the movie. I think that's awesome. I think Doc Ock is legitimately just one of the best comic book villains ever. Alfred Molina is brilliant. And I think in general, this movie examines a lot of really unique angles. It still has the fun, campy tone, but Raimi gets to kind of go full Raimi. There's a very Evil Dead-esque sequence when Doc Ock kind of first appears with the robotic arms kind of controlling everything. I think that's just really awesome. In the hospital. One of my favorite comic movies.
12, 13 years ago, I would have said this was the best comic book movie. Definitely was the best Spider-Man movie. Unfortunately, I just don't think it holds up. It does capture just the spirit of Spider-Man really well. Like you were saying, Jake, his first couple minutes, just his life and who he is and what it is to be Spider-Man, and what you have to give up. And just when he's getting lectured about responsibility by by his boss at the pizza shop, that's just such core Spider-Man. But there's just so many cringy moments. Toby is so cringy. That scene where he's quoting poetry, I'm getting embarrassed for him just thinking about it. There's just so many the relationship between him and Dunce is just really rough, the way they talk to each other. And the you said you like the fact that she finds out. I guess eventually she has to, because Peter and MJ are going to get together because it's Peter and MJ. But my absolute favorite thing about the first Spider-Man movie is that ending where she's saying, "Yes, I would be with you," and he walks away because he has to, because that's what Spider-Man does.
We'll talk about that later. Let's not get into it.
Come the fuck on!
And to me, that kind of steps on that. My favorite part of that movie. So I don't love that. At one time this was my favorite, but just not anymore.
Look,
This movie is the only legitimately good movie of these three. This movie is good. Maguire and Dunst are abominations to cinema in this movie and all three of these movies. Molina is fantastic as Doc Ock, and he's wasted, and this script is wasted on a terrible portrayal of Spider-Man and MJ, and that's what I hate about these three. Like, this is a really great story, and a really great script, and a really great villain performance, and great action. The problem is, the hero sucks. The hero sucks all the way through this movie. And the fact that you have the first Spider-Man hire, I want whatever cocaine you're buying, because holy shit. But you know what? I can't fault you for having two, because two's actually good. But also to say it's the best Spider-Man movie is asinine, when there are at least three that are legitimately better.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna have some words.
You had Amazing Spider-Man 2 on your list. Please calm the fuck down.
That is a worse movie than this, but it's a personal. And it was
made by top 100. I'm Kaleb Koho.
100.
Kirk.
Okay. My number 15 is kind of a curveball, but people who know me will expect to be on my list. Number 15 is Tombstone. This is a really great Western. It's a modern Western, but it has very much the feel of a classic old-time Western. It's very gritty, has that real dirty feel to it. Kurt Russell and Sam Elliott, I think, are just born to play cowboys, and they are both so great at it. And, of course, you have Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday, one of the greatest characters of all time, the most quotable character of all time. Just so much fun to watch. Anytime he's on screen, I'm just excited. Even though I've seen that movie a million times, I just want to see what he's going to do next. And what he's going to say next. I love him so much. I love the way the movie's shot, the way the city, the town of Tombstone is a character, and how it changes, and the way it's shot changes as the perspective of the characters of the town change is really well done. So there's like 3 or 4 really great villains. You got Powers Booth as Curly Bill Brocious, Sean Bean. You have the guy from Avatar playing Ike Clampett. Just so many different types of villains. But Sean Bean is just so sinister and just such a great villain and just such a great foil for Wyatt Earp. And you need that. It's nice when you have a hero and a villain that are kind of on the same level performance-wise. Just a great movie. Just so many great moments. Like the supporting cast. Billy Zane is the actor, and when he gives the performance, he does the St. Christmas Day speech from Henry V, and that's my kind of stuff. And they all start shooting their guns. Just such a great little world that they create in this movie. It just feels real and lived. It feels like, again, it feels at the same time a very Hollywood movie, but also very much of it feels like what that time would be. So to me, it's just and again, people who are who fans like old time Westerns real hardcore probably kind of see this as like blasphemy. This is my highest rated Western. But it's just such a great movie. So many great performances.
Tombstone is one that I recently watched it's the first time watched this year, and I think it's going to be a Western that I definitely go back to and watch. I just hadn't seen it to this year, so I think I 100% agree with you. There's stuff I knew about it, but when I actually saw the movie play out, I was more like drawn in, even though I knew some of the stuff was coming. But like Val Kilmer is insane in this movie. I think he's crazy good, even though I've heard the what's the line?
I'm your Huckleberry.
I've heard that like 45 billion times in my life. And I just think Kurt Russell and all of them are just perfect cowboys. You're 100% right. It's kind of a genre that I'm falling in love with more and more I watch the Westerns. So, well done. 15, I a little high on my thing, but again, that's just a one-time view, and it was just a couple months ago, so I can't really fault you for it. Everybody else on Tombstone?
I've never seen it, but my parents really like it, so.
I like this one. I think it's a fun action shoot 'em up. I haven't really revisited it since I first watched it, but I think Val Kilmer is excellent.
Yeah, I had to say this because of I think it was you, I don't know. Someone put it on the Full Metal round 3 last season, so I watched it because of that. Not you. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I really like the movie. George Cosmatos is an interesting director. I'm more of a fan of his son because he did Mandy and Beyond the Black Rainbow, which is more my type of movies. But this is definitely like a really good Western of the 90s. Kurt Russell's fantastic as always. There you go, Mike Hanley.
All right, Koho.
I'm gonna make Kirk really sad. My 15 is Clue. So this is one of my all-time favorite ensemble comedies. It's so fun. I love murder mysteries. That's one of my favorite genres, if not my favorite genre. If there's ever a murder mystery out in a year, I'm contractually obligated with life to go see it. So this was one where I found out that they made one based on a board game that I played all the time. That was like, let's do this. And I watched it and I fell in love with it. Tim Curry is great as Wadsworth the butler, and everyone around him, they interact so well. Leslie Ann Warren's Miss Scarlet and Christopher Lloyd's Professor Plum and Michael McKean's Mr. Green. They're all great. It's just Martin Mull as Mustard. They all have great moments and individual moments to shine, but together they make just maybe the best comedy ensemble cast in a movie. Every joke hits for me. Every bit works. I love the gimmick of the multiple endings is so fun and works perfectly for that adaptation of that game. Yeah, it's endlessly rewatchable for me. It's also really short, so they get in and they get out and they leave you wanting more. Yeah, it's a great time.
I appreciate Clue. I really do. I think Clue is actually a really funny comedy. I think there's a few people that have blown it a little bit higher in recent times. Koho, one of them, obviously. Fair. Still brought your list to the show. I'm gonna still tell you how I feel. I love everybody treats this. They should be like your babies, but listen, I'm a part of the show. Yeah. I also there's some great lines in that. Is like, are you trying to make me look stupid? You don't need my help. That's right. It's just like the brilliant witty. I also love when Tim Curry answers the door and he's like, if you don't let me in, I'm going to keep you for this, and murder. Pops up, murder. Why would you say murder? It's just the funny thing about Tim Curry. I think some of the characters are a little bit too over the top for me in this movie. I'm not the biggest fan of flames. Like, I know that's one of the biggest parts. It just, it hasn't aged the best in my eyes. I don't like that scene. I know it's supposed to be it was probably killed in the theaters when it came out, but for me, it's just like, stop.
It's improv, actually.
But, well, she should have stopped.
Yeah.
I think I would pop on Clue pretty much any time just to get a good laugh. I don't think it's an abomination. I don't think it's a bad movie. It's just personally probably not in my top 100. So I don't hate it. Especially, it's definitely a Koho pick. Everybody else on Clue.
Haven't seen it.
Kirk can go last.
I really, really enjoy Clue. I've watched this movie a lot. So many great quotes. 1 + 2 + 2 + 1. Communism was just a red herring. I think the dynamics between all these characters kind of being able to mash up and work off each other. There's just so many great comedic actors are in this. I really love Michael McKean as Mr. Green. I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife. Like, this is one of the greatest ending lines in a movie ever. It's fantastic. It's really great.
This movie feels like cosplay to me. It's like they went and got like professional Hollywood actors to do like a murder mystery dinner. And they're like, hey, we're going to do it like the old 40s style slapstick comedies. And we're just going to ape everything they did. And I mean, they're just trying so hard to be that. And you see that they're just trying to be that. It's like there's nothing. It's like I said, it's an imitation, and it's just diminishing returns. Like they're just putting on an act of, hey, remember those movies we loved? Let's do that. And there's nothing really like original or fun about it I get from any of those performances, except Tim Curry. Tim Curry's good. But I hate the multiple endings. When they're running through the house to recreate everything, that's such a slog. It's, you say the movie's short, that feels like it goes on for 45 minutes. And yeah, I just don't. I don't think it's the worst comedy ever made, but when I hear this called a classic, it's the requisite flame shooting from the side of my face because it's not a classic in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. Boatman, what's your 14?
Okay, tell me. My 14, thankfully, we can talk about this movie now. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a man that you all need to appreciate more. You need to see more of this man's work. It is Albert Bartholomew Brooks. Defending your life, everybody. Defending your life. I have been probably the biggest outspoken champion of this movie since the day since the day I entered the movie. Oh, we'll get to your list, Tire Boy. Anyway,
fucking yikes!
I am fucking. This movie.
That was too good.
This movie is basically Albert Brooks. He dies and he's in the afterlife where he essentially has to defend his decisions, and it's incredibly brilliant. I love the actual trial moments, and he begins a relationship with a woman played by Meryl Streep, and their back and forth dynamic. I actually find them really charming. I know some people think they don't have a lot of chemistry. I actually really like them together in this movie. But my favorite part of this movie is Rip Torn as lawyer Bob Diamond, who is absolutely amazing. But I love the set design of this movie. I love the way this afterlife looks. Like, it's not like pearly gates and gold. It's like a bunch of hotel chains. And I think that's just really cool ideas. And like the different like ways, like how all the restaurants, every food that they make is like the best food you can possibly have. Like everything is just so, it feels like the earlier version of The Good Place. And I really like that.
Defending Your Life, I've recently watched, and I enjoyed it. I would not have sing its praises as high as everybody else. I think overall it's actually just a brilliant concept for this. I would like to see an actual like trial setting without any comedic about somebody having to defend their life. I think that's a very interesting like story that we could see. I just think overall the chemistry doesn't always work between the characters, but there are a lot of just funny moments that actually just makes me laugh out loud. Like the Past Lives Pavilion, I think that part of the movie is really hilarious because like how like one person's like a Aztec warrior or something and starts running at the person, they start screaming like, "Oh crap, that can't be me." It's got a lot of heart. Rip Torn is fantastic in this movie. I think it's definitely worth a watch. It was a very good first time watch. If you're interested in starting anything from Albert Brooks, I think it's a great entry. Him as a character, I just can't see him and think of him as a clownfish. It's really fucking hard. His voice, he's fucking Marlin, and it's bad. It's just he's Marlin. But everybody else on Defending Your Life.
But what year did this movie come out?
1991.
Okay, so it must have been like 92, 93 when I was in high school. This movie was on HBO all the time, and I watched it all the time, and I really like this movie. This is just, and this is before like I even knew who Albert Brooks or anybody was. That concept of like, first of all, like you said, like that mundane take on the afterlife where it's just more life and it's kind of just like boring and you got to like, it's like a bureaucracy and you got to get through it. Is a really cool take on that. And just the idea of the story of like really reviewing your life and what was it worth it and what you did was worth it. And, you know, what you have done differently and, you know, what had value. And it's a great, like dramatic, comedic story to tell, and Albert Brooks I think is the perfect guy in that role. So yeah, I unfortunately I haven't seen it since then. I've probably watched this like 24 times in the 90s and haven't seen it since. But no, I think it's a good pick.
I had to see this movie because good old Boatman used as a strength in our title match. And this is the first one that I watched. Just had the feeling that this is the one that I should try out first, having not seen an Albert Brooks movie. Is this? Can you spoil? Is this the highest? Is this the all-time Albert Brooks movie?
Yeah, this is my number one Albert Brooks movie.
This is number one. Okay. Yeah, I really like the concept. I mean, yeah, Boatman said it's like The Good Place, except from the 90s. I really like the way Rip Torn and Albert Brooks just have this like one-off. Like, there's one point where Rip Torn doesn't make it for his case, and he's like, "Where were you?" I couldn't explain it. You just wouldn't understand it. He just says some like mumbo jumbo. He's like, "What?" And all that stuff's really good. There's a lot of really good dialogue and really good ideas that I really like about this movie. I do not like the ending. Without spoiling it, I think the ending just is not. It's too quick, and it goes what I think is the obvious path. Outside of that, I think this is a really, really nice, charming movie of the 90s, underrated movie of the 90s, and I 100% understand why Boatman likes this movie. This is definitely like a Boatman movie with everything about it. So yeah, and I can't argue against that.
Yeah, this I watched this for both recommendation, obviously, with Doubt as a double feature. I'm glad I put this second, because this is really fucking funny. I had a lot of fun. It's very creative. It's not like a laugh per minute comedy, but I enjoyed it. It's like it's a defensive time. It's a fun movie, and it's a really cool idea. I'd love to see someone take this idea and do something different with it. Or try to do a different story with this same sort of concept, because it's a really cool idea. But yeah, Albert Brooks directs this really well.
All right, Jake, 14.
I was talking, shout out Michael Campbell in the last one. I'm going to shout out Paul Yum on this one. I'm talking about my favorite animated movie. That is Your Name. So this is a Japanese anime from 2016, directed by a director I'm really starting to get into, Makoto Shinkai. He's just one of the greatest animators, honestly. All of his films are just so hyper-realistic and so gorgeous to look at. And this is a film. This is a body swap movie. This is about two people from Japan who swap bodies every now and then, and they have no idea what's going on. So I know that the big joke about this, about me in general, is the movie It's a Boy Girl Thing. That movie's fucking terrible. This is what you do if you want to make a body swap movie. Everything about this movie, and it's just more than just that. Like, because it's a relationship about Mitsuha and Taki. Mitsuha's a country girl. She goes to this. She's in the country life. Her father's the mayor, and her whole story is about tradition and her wanting to move out of the country and go live in the city. And then Taki, he's from the city, he's a city boy, and he has a crush on a girl at his work, Mrs. Okadera. And when both of them swap, they kind of help each other out in their situations. Mitsuha was able to help Taki get a date with Miss Okadera. Taki's able to help Mitsuha with relationships and other people in the country life. And they start to really bond throughout the entire movie, and you really get a sense of like the relationship between both of them. And I won't go too much into detail what happens later on, but it really becomes just like emotionally powerful like journey that they both go through, and you just really feel for the characters. And in the last third act, it takes a turn that you just don't expect, but like it's just so moving and powerful. And what Taki says to Mitsuha, or what he writes on her arm, is just so powerful. And then like just, oh my god, there's so much that I really want to talk about, but I'm not going to spoil what happens. I would say I just go see this movie if you really want to get into, if you want to get into Shinkai's filmography. He had a film called Weathering with You, which came out last year. I would say Your Name is the one to check out. There's just so much incredible animation. Like, you will not find a better animated movie, honestly. This is just some of the best animation you'll ever see. And there's also some great songs by a Japanese band. I believe they're called Radwimps. Great songs throughout the entire movie. Highly recommend this movie. This is just one of the best films from the animated Japan. So,
haven't seen it.
Haven't seen it.
Is this the one with that peach scene everybody talks about?
No.
But no, I don't like. I not that I don't like it. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it. It's on my list. I do want to see it.
Cody, you let me down.
Sorry. Come work my job and I'll watch. Come work my job and I'll watch movies all day. Okay. Kirk.
Okay, 14. We're going to take a temporary detour here, Cody. Stay calm. Everything will be all right. My number 14 is It's a Wonderful Life.
This was on my list as well.
I just love this movie. It doesn't have to be a Christmas movie. It can be watched any time of year. It's my favorite Jimmy Stewart. It's my favorite Frank Capra. Just a great journey through a guy's life. Again, like we said with Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, so much of it should come off as cheesy and corny. But in their hands, it's just timeless and great. Watching him go from just a young man with all these ambitions and slowly see that just taken from him. You know, the scene where he finds out he has to stay and work in the town, and he hears the train whistle from his train leaving. Just so many heartbreaking moments from that, and then the end where you have so many payoffs of what his life was really like, and what his life meant to people, and the value that it had when he thought he was wasting his whole life, everything he was really doing. So many great little almost like snippets of different people's lives that he interacts with. Just a lot of great side characters, and again, they all pay off when Mr. Gower in the bar at the end. Man, that always gets to me. And every year I watch it, man, and dang it, I break down to my brother George Bailey, the richest man in town. Just Niagara Falls, Frankie Angel. Every year it gets to me. So it's such a good movie. I don't understand. I'll ask you the question, Cody, that everybody asks me: who hurt you? Because this movie is fantastic.
I also had this on my list. I think that this movie, like, for so much of it, life is just beating down on George Bailey. Like, his life is just so miserable for a lot of it, but it still has like that Capra charm that I really love. And I think this is like peak Capra in terms of just like how the small town feel. Like, that's perfect for Capra. He does like a lot of big city movies about corruption. I think he feels very at home in like just this nice small town environment. And I think like all that kind of misery is made up for in like the last 5 minutes of the movie, where Merry Christmas, like that whole sequence is just so amazing, and I love it, and I can't watch that without a smile on my face because it's so amazing. And everybody comes in and they're putting the money down, and I love this movie. It's amazing. I love this movie.
Ring the fucking bell. Ring the bell. 30 minutes in the movie. I would like this movie a lot fucking more. This movie is a fucking drag. You know what I don't want at Christmas time? A fucking drag. This movie has always been held in high regard, and then I end up watching it, and it's like, hey, Mom, Dad, I really want that red bicycle. And they put a fucking sewing machine underneath the thing. And then I sit there for days and have the sewing machine and pissed off, and then finally something good happens and they bring in the red bicycle. It's like fucking torture, I'll be honest with you. You said Capra charm. Oh, kiss my ass. I don't find any charm in this movie. I get it. You guys, I wouldn't watch this at Christmas time. I won't watch this in July. I won't watch this probably ever again. I think this is a slosh of a movie. So, ding, ding, ding. All right, you all got your wings. You can go the fuck home now. Anybody else on It's a Wonderful Life?
Never seen it.
It's not a wonderful time.
What?
You're blessing.
I grew up in Australia. We don't watch like American Christmas movies as classic as these ones. It just never gets played on TV. I'm sorry. I have seen the one scene where Jimmy's talking about going to the moon, which I've only seen that scene because it's in Bruce Almighty.
Watch How the Grinch Stole Christmas from Jim Carrey. It's way better. Okay.
Oh. Whoa! No! You are on trial.
This is what a stroke feels like. Oh my god!
You're on.
No, I'm not. Because guess what? This is my fucking show. So sit down there and shut the fuck up. Cool. Way better time. Watch Elf. Watch Christmas with the Cranks. Watch any of those. Way better.
No.
Way better.
Oh yeah.
Way
Oh,
better.
you've never seen with the Craigs.
Wait, and Koho, you get to go next.
All right, let's keep the world burning. It's time for another Koho movie. Number 14 is Megamind. All right.
Yeah, I'm going.
This is rough.
Megamind is one of those movies that I quote daily. This is a big one for me and my family. We love this movie. Superman is my favorite superhero, so to see them sort of yeah, that's good, guys. To take that archetype and the Lex Luthor archetype and to sort of flip them and to show you a world in what someone would say, this is what happens if Lex Luthor wins, right? He has to end up becoming the hero. I think it's really well done. I think all the jokes really hit for me. I love just the little character affectations that Will Ferrell gives Megamind, just like how he mispronounces words, Metrocity, Shul. They work. The between Richie and as Bernard is kind of fun and sweet. Yeah, it's a really fun movie. I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah. A Music Man was born.
No, this movie is mediocre. This movie is fine. This movie is nothing special. It probably doesn't even crack the top 10 DreamWorks films. I think this movie is just meh at best. So yeah, no thank you on Megamind. So I watched it later this year again to see when I was a kid if I missed something. I didn't miss anything. Watch The Incredibles. Anybody else?
Not even the similar movie.
Who fucking cares?
This movie came out right about my kids were the age of watching these movies, and again, like I said before, watch a lot of anime movies. Could do a lot worse than Megamind. A lot of fun stuff in this. Will Ferrell's really good. Brad Pitt's really good. Tina Fey's really good. I just love a lot of the moments. I love, I'm a super villain. Well, what's the difference? Presentation and the Welcome to the Jungle. I love that scene. So yeah, I mean, again, 14 in top 100, but it's still a good movie. Still good animated movie.
I'm legally obligated to enjoy this movie because I am the minion to Kaleb Koho's Megamind. Let's be honest.
Minion!
Going off the rails, sir. I think this movie's a lot of fun. Legitimately, I watched this a lot as a kid, so I have a lot of nostalgia for it. But I think this is a really unique take on superheroes, and I really like what they do with Metro Man in this. I think that's a whole lot of fun. Copper.
13. Go.
Okay, my 13th favorite movie of all time is a little film as I bring the list back up. My 13th favorite film of all time is Lilo and Stitch. You knew it was coming. Okay, this is my favorite Disney movie ever. I don't think that's a shock to anybody, but I think that this movie balances the really fun, unique, goofy alien comedy with Pleakley, Jumba, Stitch. That's really fun sci-fi stuff going on. It's one of the funniest Disney movies ever made. You get Pleakley and Jumba trying to have to blend in, and you've got just Stitch just biting Pleakley's face. I think that's a lot of fun. And when Lilo's trying to train Stitch, that's a lot of fun. But the other thing that I really love about this movie is the emotional dynamic between Lilo and Nani. Lilo is one of the best written child characters in any movie ever. I think legitimately this movie understands how kids act. Lilo isn't I feel like kids in movies are either one of two things: horrible, unlovable brats that are the worst, or perfect little angels. Lilo is just a real kid, and I love that. And I just love so much about this movie, and this movie makes me cry every time I watch it. The Aloha Oe sequence, when they're in the hammock, that just makes me sad. The Lost Ducky, so much about this movie is just amazing, and I really love it.
Anybody else have Stitch? Okay, well, sorry, Kirk. I didn't know if you you grew a heart for fucking George Bailey, but okay, whatever. So Lilo and Stitch, I think is incredible. I still stand by it. It's probably tied as the funniest Disney animated movie behind Emperor's New Groove, because that movie is fucking fantastic too. Jake, fuck you. Lilo and Stitch is so good. It's just it has a lot of heart. It has comedic moments. I think it teaches kids probably one of the best Disney messages in there is just like, loving the family you got, and even, loving the things that don't even look, don't look like you, or don't act like you, or don't give up on things just because things gets hard. Honestly, I really enjoy this movie. I won't quote the brick line, but it's my favorite line in probably any Disney movie ever. Everybody else on Lilo and Stitch?
This movie is great. It's, I think, just outside my top 10 Disney movies. It's fantastic. I really love the way that they treat Lilo's family situation. I think it's a really real. It's just a really human approach that Disney doesn't often do, is to examine a family that's broken in that way. I think her relationship with Nani is great. And her relationship that she has with Stitch over the course of that movie is fantastic. And the comedy works really, really well. I like Jumbo and Bleakley. I grew up on the series, so I've watched every piece of Lilo and Stitch thing ever as a kid. So it's been a very long time since I've actually decided to take the initiative to go back and view it again. But Lilo and Stitch is a good movie. I like it a lot.
I've never gotten the hype on this one. If you told me this was Boatman. If you told me this was a direct to DVD movie that they just put out and it came and went, I'd completely believe you. I guess it's got some fun moments in it, but it just never, it never hit with me. I don't know.
Who fucking hurt you? God. Straight to DVD. Wow, fucking rude.
This is a fantastic animated movie. I'm despite being a year older than Boatman, Koho, and Cameron, and Team 19 and all that sort of stuff, I still grew up with a lot of Disney films of the 2000s. Not that big of a difference. I think I just grew up 40 years in my teenage years with my film taste. But this is a great movie. I really like the relationship between Lilo and Stitch. Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride. Really love that song. I think that's great. Like to listen to that every now and then. And I just think it's one of the films that I remember, the first films I remember seeing as a kid, kind of dealing with just not having parents around, just what happened with Lilo and Nani, and that just was something just new of a concept to me. And the fact that the film tackles that and does it in a very mature way is really interesting. Yeah, fun movie. It's just kind of insane to me. It's 13, but then I get it with my 13.
Jake.
Doesn't matter. It's Inception.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Kirk.
Okay.
I'm going to say yikes.
My 13 is a yikes from earlier tonight. It is Amadeus. I've always loved this movie, and the more I watch it, the more I love it. Been watching, like everybody else over the past couple weeks, been watching a lot of Hamilton, and I think Hamilton owes a lot to this movie in the idea that you take an actual historic group of people and you fictionalize it through a fictionalized relationship, and the Hamilton Burr relationship in Hamilton really reminds me of the relationship between these two characters. I love Tom Hulce's take on Mozart, and just again, not necessarily historically accurate, but it just really catches the spirit of everything we know about Mozart, the kind of person he was. Kind of makes him a modern character in that time setting, like what Mozart might be like today, but it still works. And it's just a lot of fun. I love F. Murray Abraham and just that dynamic of one character being obsessed with the other and the other one barely knowing the other one exists. But they at the same time form a friendship because they're all they have. I just love that. It's just, just the way it ends and just how heartbreaking it is. That, again, Mozart dies. That's not necessarily a spoiler, but the way that happens and him trying to Salieri trying to help him write the Requiem and just realizing everything what Mozart is at that moment and just what he'll never be, and just admiring him for that and hating for that at the same time. Just such a great, it's one of my all-time favorite on-screen like duo relationships. It's just so brilliantly done, and I love the movie for it.
I love the portrayal. This was on my list earlier. I love the portrayal of Mozart as like this undeserving genius, as this person who really shouldn't be as talented as he is, and how that drives Salieri just absolutely insane, and how he is just so obsessed with the fact that he can never be as good as Mozart. And I agree with what you said, Kirk. That dynamic is just so fascinating to me. But I love the way that everyone treats Mozart's genius in this. I think one of my favorite scenes in the movie is too many notes. Just take a few out. And then, like, imagine telling Mozart, just take a few notes out of one of your greatest operas, and then it'll be perfect. Like, this movie is, like, and it looks beautiful. I love just the costumes and the sets and everything. It's my favorite, like, period piece of this type.
Anybody else have Amadeus?
No.
This is one of my favorite things that I've ever had to watch for this community. Again, I was supposed to debate best movie biopic or whatever, something along that lines, and Jen Kemp picked this, and I picked the wrong choice, obviously. It never happened, so I didn't have to lose to this, but watching this movie was one of the best experiences of movie going. I was captivated. I was really dreading 3 freaking hours. Was not happy about that, but honestly, it flew by. I really enjoyed the dynamic between them. And I think it's really rewatchable. I've watched it a couple times since, and there's not a lot of times that I put in 3-hour movies just to watch them. I normally stick to the shorter ones on rewatches. So if you haven't seen it, I would definitely check it out. And I didn't realize the Hamilton thing until right now, and that's pretty freaking accurate. So well done on that one, Kirk. All right, anybody, Koho and Jake.
Yeah, I watched this for the first time this year, and I liked it. I watched the director's cut accidentally. It's the only print that I could find from my library, and I was like, okay, we'll try it. And it was a good time. I actually quite enjoyed it. I think Tom Hulce is fantastic, and I think Tom Hulce might be better than F. Murray Abraham, but they're shooting pretty close to each other this entire movie. They're both fantastic, so great movie.
Being partners with Michael Campbell meant that I have to have seen Amadeus. I saw this a couple months before we decided to be a team. This is a fantastic movie. This is one of the defining movies of the 80s. This is what you show to people and say, this is what the 80s can give to cinema. Amadeus is I've always been a fan of classical music, and this is just a celebration of that sort of stuff. I think it's interesting that for a biopic about Mozart, they decided to focus on Salieri, and that really kind of shows why that was like a really great choice, because just having it from the perspective of Salieri really shows much about Mozart, and the whole idea of just him being this undeserving genius is just so fantastic. I've only seen the director's cut. It was the only one I could find. There's a couple moments in that one that I know is not from the original. That kind of adds a lot more to the layers of Salieri and what he's trying to do with Mozart. The last 20 minutes, I think, when he's writing his concerto or whatever, his Ninth Symphony, something like that, his magnum opus, and just the way that he's able to just his Requiem, and it's just he's just not even saying stuff that most people would say. He's saying what you would if you were into music theory, the way he's saying and all that sort of stuff, and it's just it's perfect, and then you're hearing the music as he's doing it, and it's just so it's just enchanting to watch. It's a fantastic movie, one of the best you could see of the 80s.
Okay. Go ahead, Koho.
We're following up fucking Amadeus with Cars. Okay. So for me, in hindsight, Nemo is the movie that I think I like more before I made this list. But Cars for me, for the longest time, was my favorite Pixar movie. I've had the little attachment to the movie living for years. In just the way that I've always found something different every time I watch this movie that I attach to. Like when I was a kid, I'm like, oh yeah, fucking cars. Now, like you're a teenager, it's like I grew up there. I grew up in that fucking town. That's like where I'm from. So I know the like experience of seeing a town that's struggling, and sort of these people that are all super communally close. I love Doc Hudson as a character. I think Paul Newman crushes it. And just the idea, I think one of my favorite lines in the whole movie is just an empty cup, and that's why he walks away. Why people don't love this movie, or like it's just okay, like I could see it, but for me, I find a weird sense of attachment to different aspects of the movie. The idea of slowing down and enjoying the moments of your life instead of trying to go really hit me when I was like in high school. And I just kind of popped this one on to rewatch it, see if it was still good. And it hit. I think this is one of the Pixar movies that people kind of tend to forget about. And like, I get it. The sequels are not as good. But I think this one genuinely holds up as one of the more and kind of underrated Pixar movies. Like, it's pretty solid and it's pretty sweet. So.
I don't even know what to say. I don't like this movie. I don't. I think this is literally one of the most kid. Oh my gosh. So basically, what I think this movie is like, are like one of the most like most kid-like Pixar movies that doesn't like. I know it has some like things for adults, but it really doesn't. It does something really stupid that most people in 2006 should have stopped, and that's stop putting Larry the Cable Guy in shit. I think he's atrocious. Honestly, he did what in your cup. Like, I just can't stand that over redneck thing, and that is what he is the entire time. I think I don't really like the character of Lightning McQueen. I think Doc's cool, but overall, I think I put this up there with like The Good Dinosaur, stuff like that. That is very kiddish at times and doesn't really grab me as an adult. It doesn't carry over. It's just childish. Everybody, go ahead, Carson.
I'm going last.
I'll go. Yeah, I think, and maybe this is retrospect just because of what blew up afterwards. But like you're saying, Cody, this feels like the first time that Pixar put out a movie that was meant to sell toys. With that in it, the main thing in mind, Pixar is known for like its artistry and kind of transcending the animated genre. This is the first one we're like, okay, let's just make a couple bucks off this. It's not a terrible movie. It's in the back half of Pixar for me, but it's in the front of the back half. Movies are still watchable. But yeah, it's got other than Larry the Cable Guy, it's got a good voice cast. But yeah, it just doesn't really hit. It's a lot more shallow than a lot of other stuff Pixar's done.
Sorry. Soundtrack slaps, by the way. You're right, Joseph.
Is Batman here?
Soundtrack is good.
Jake, go ahead.
I'll just say, I don't like this movie. I don't like this movie. This is Pixar. Before this had this like upper echelon of just quality movies. Every film they did was a hit, both financially and critically. And this is the one where they decided to, let's just fuck that up. Let's just make toys. Let's just make money off toys. And this is the most successful Pixar film because of that, because of all the merchandise. I was on call with Paul a couple of days ago, and one thing led to another. But we're just talking about like just how the world of cars works. How the fuck do they have babies? How the fuck do they build all the stadiums in their houses? Like, what is this? Like, what is going on in this universe? It makes no sense. This is the one Pixar film where I just don't know how this universe is. It's called Cars. It's about cars. What? It just doesn't make any sense.
They all show up to watch each other run.
Exactly. Like, what the hell? Who cares?
Hey, we do too.
Track and field on this.
We don't fill up stadiums and get excited.
The Olympics. The Olympics.
Fire. Is it a movie? Okay.
Guys, Guys,
What are we talking about?
I wish you would understand sports for a second. People don't show up and watch the Olympics just for the fucking running. They do the entire fields. No one packs stadiums. They do that every 4 fucking years. You guys do it every week to watch people run. That's dumb. This universe makes no sense.
You're not wrong.
We literally are a community.
Who changes their oil?
Movie trivia. We don't get to hold judges for this. We all watch movie trivia weekly. Like, I'm sorry. We don't get to be judgmental.
Where are we going with this?
I don't know.
That was great. Boatman has no idea. Boatman doesn't even know what a sport is, so let's just relax. Boatman, go ahead and talk about Cars.
Cars legitimately is a fine, okay movie. It's not the worst thing ever. It's not great. Ironically, this movie is a blast. I'm sorry. This movie is so silly, so stupid. Like, I'm sorry. If you can say, like, Venom is top 100 worthy, but you can't say that Cars is, like, it's same energy. I'm sorry. It's the same crackhead energy. Like, it's silly.
Boatman, I don't know if you could hear it. You just got a huge laugh from Kathy. She loved that.
Okay, well, thank you, Kathy. Like, this movie is crackhead energy, and I love it, and it's amazing. Excuse you, Pokemon card. Also, that's the other sport I know. My cousin went to the championships in it. Shout out to Dima Boatman. He's in prison now. Anyway.
What the fuck is this?
All right. We're gonna shut him up. We're moving on. I don't care what he says about Cars. Boatman, when you recover, talk about your 12 or get off the show.
God.
My 12. It's an animated movie that's only slightly less iconic than Cars. It's Spirited Away. Spirited Away, I think this is like Miyazaki doing an Alice in Wonderland type world. It's a girl who is, her parents are turned into pigs and she's taken into the spirit world, and it's basically just kind of about her trying to escape that and all the crazy things she encounters in this very dreamlike mystical universe. And I really like just the environments in this movie, the animation. I love Chihiro herself, voiced by Devai Chase, same person who voiced Lilo, also played Samara in The Ring, and Donnie Darko. So yeah. Anyway, I think that I think that Spirited Away, it's like, this movie is so beautiful to look at. Like, just when she's flying with Haku, that whole sequence is amazing. I love the train ride where we just get a little bit of peace out of all this zaniness. I just think there's so much in this movie that is brilliant. If you haven't watched this one, I highly recommend it.
I just try to fucking follow everything you say. It's like I watching Pong, but I'm like speed of 45. Like, he's also in this one. Down, blah, blah. What the fuck? I haven't seen it. I don't know if I want to because I don't think I'm gonna love it. But
it's not a good movie.
That's what I was told before this week started. So everybody else on Spirited Away.
There's something about the Ghibli animation style that's just really not for me. Like, I really can't love those movies just because I don't love the way they look. But this is still a pretty good movie. Has a lot of like nice, and I mean there are some. Although I don't like the style overall, I do like a lot of the characters and the monster designs and everything. So, it's pretty. I mean, again, I haven't seen it forever, and I am going to start getting back into Ghibli now that it's on HBO Max. I can watch them all, but maybe I'll have more appreciation for it then.
I took one small step for Jake Kind this year by watching Spirited Away, the first Studio Ghibli film that I saw. I never saw the Ghibli films before this year, and I finally decided to take the chance and watch it. And I think this movie is pretty good. I like this movie. The animation's really good. I really like the. I watched it with the English dub, so I really like the voice actors there. They did a really good job. I really like the scene where they're falling in the sky and. What's her name? I just want to say Sen, but it's not Sen. It's Chichiro. She discovers like what his name is, and they're just falling in the sky, and you just have this like satisfying like fulfillment for both characters in that moment, and I think that's really cool. I really like all the creature designs and the characters. But yeah, no, I think it's like a pretty solid animated movie.
Okay. All right. Jake, what's your call? Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for.
We get to talk about this movie now. This is it. Everybody's ready. I'm talking about a film from 2010. Some would say it is a French movie. It is the magnum opus of Quentin Dupieux, Rubber. A film about a psychopathic tire that kills people.
Sorry, I didn't get the point of the film. Can you please describe that one more time for me?
It's about a tire that comes to life and kills people with its telekinetic powers.
I'm sold. I'm sorry. I'm sold.
I don't really have to say. So, this is a French movie. In case people were wondering, it's from director Quentin Dupieux. He wrote, directed, shot, edited, and did the music for this movie. He's mainly known for doing music under the name Mr. Oizo. Check out his music; it's pretty good. Thanks, that really helps. I'm gonna kick your ass next time. I really. This is just. Like, just the concept alone sounds insane. And yeah, it's about a tire that kills people. But the movie is like about like this meta narrative on film and the idea of independent art cinema being destroyed by Hollywood. I mean, the film ends with the tire going to Hollywood. Like, there's a lot of weird metaphors throughout the movie. There's a crowd of people who have binoculars who are essentially the audience members in the movie, and they're watching the movie and their commentary throughout the entire movie, like going on, like, what's the tire doing now? There's nothing happening. There's a point in the movie where they go to sleep because the movie gets boring at a time. Like, the film is self-referential and is meta and like understands like what the film is. Like, it's an insane idea. The main character of the movie, or one of the main characters, is a sheriff who knows he's in a movie and is trying to make sure to stop the movie. He wants the movie to end, so he's trying to kill the people watching the movie, and then he's trying to kill the tire. There's a lot of crazy just moments, and every time he explodes people's heads, it's fantastic to watch. Weirdly surreal. I always love this movie. I want to shout out my man Torsten from year 12. He told me to watch this movie because he knows I was getting into film, and I've never looked back since. I just think this movie is just fantastic. This is one of those drunk movies that you should watch. It's just, you get so much out of it, and I think this is just a fantastically fascinating movie. And Cody, if I win the Oscar thing next year, I'm making you watch this.
So this costs money to watch, and I asked my wife if I could rent it. And she said, sure, we can watch it together. I said, I don't think you'll like it. And she's like, what's it about? I said, apparently a tire kills people. And she's like, well, you're not fucking spending money on it. So I didn't watch it. And I don't plan to. If I will not enter the Oscar pool next year, just so that option is never on the table. I'll be honest with you. No, not seen it. I wouldn't even watch this on times 10 speed. No, thank you at all. Absolutely not. Mike Hanley just says it's a great fucking movie. I don't trust the shit that Mike says most of the time. Mike doesn't have anything under 4 stars that blows things up. So no, thank you. Everybody else on Rubber.
My friends and I, through all of high school, joked about watching this movie at times. And then we would realize there's no enjoyment to be had from this movie. So we would instead watch The Room, which is at least laughably terrible. And this movie never made the cut. And I have never seen it, and I never will. Fuck off with this rubber bullshit.
I'm watching the trailer right now. I really want to see this. I really want to watch this movie. You got me on your side, Jake. I'm with you on this one, buddy.
I haven't seen this movie, but after listening to Jake talk about it, I wish my dad would have worn a rubber so that I wouldn't have to conversation.
Legit. What happened?
That's the winner. That's the winner of the clip show. There you go.
Fucking kill me. Fucking kill me. Kirk, please just start talking about your movie before I fucking kill myself.
Okay. My number 12 is my favorite Hitchcock movie. That is Lifeboat. This is another movie I discovered relatively young, and I've just gone back to it more and more often and really like it. It takes place during World War II. German boat sinks a ocean liner, and a group of people, from all different, classes, races, end up on this lifeboat together. And the entire film takes place on the lifeboat, and it's very tense. It's very dramatic. You have they start to create this little society on their lifeboat. Who's in charge of what, who's going to do what. Eventually, they pull the German boat sinks as well, and they pull a German sailor onto their boat. So now they have the enemy, and what are they going to do with them? So it's very much, it's a morality play. It's just a lot of ideas of, when you're the only one, when you're the law, when you're the highest word, the small group of people, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with that power? Who are you going to save? How are you going to stay alive? Really good movie. Just a lot of really well shot. I think it was all shot just basically in a big tub. But it looks really great. It's shot really nice. A lot of great scenes. The scene where the porter quotes the 23rd Psalm is really beautiful, and a really good character. A lot of good character moments like that. It's not typical Hitchcock, but it is my favorite.
So I had the pleasure of watching this. Thank you, Mike Hanley. Mike Hanley gave me his voodoo. It was on there. I watched it. I'm not a Hitchcock fan, but I was fascinated by this film. I think if you I've found out if you put a group in a room and they just start talking, you have me if it's written well. And that's what happens. They're in this tight situation, and just the stories and the talking points and the character work between all of them, they're so fleshed out and they don't say much about themselves, but you can pretty much read everything by the little actions that they do. And I think it's brilliant. And just their prejudice towards the German guy, some of them are just no, and then the other people are like, you got to give him a shot. He doesn't get to choose, and it's this back and forth thing. It's so interesting. I didn't know a movie like this really existed. I had no clue when he put it on there. I was never going to watch it, but no, I was quite pleased with it. I think it's honestly a brilliant movie. There's so many good actor and actresses in this movie that are just I would suggest anybody watching it. It does not feel like it didn't feel like a Hitchcock to me. It just felt it's a gem. It really is. It's one of those movies that I'm really happy that somebody put in the top 100 that I got to watch. Anybody else on Lifeboat?
Never seen it.
Never seen it actually, but I'm meaning to.
Ha! Fuck you all, trivia players. I've seen it, and it's good. Yeah,
As a vote, I probably should have watched this movie.
You probably should. I thought that was a part of your childhood. You have to watch everything with a boat in it. Koho, number 12.
Hindsight 2020, this would have been much higher on next week's episode. However, for the purposes of this list, my number 12, you're wondering when I was here, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. This movie fucking slaps. This movie has most of the things that most people associate the Pirates franchise with, like Davy Jones. The actual score, some of them are like musical themes of the series come from this movie. But on the whole, the story of this one just rips. I love Davy Jones as a villain. I love Jack Sparrow kind of on his back foot this entire movie of just running from Davy Jones and the Kraken, which the visual effects in this movie are spectacular. I love the three-way sword is between Warrington and Jack. It's so fun. Just the way that Jack is able to keep turning everyone on each other throughout that fight. If you will allow me, I plan to kill the man who ruined my life. Well, wouldn't that be Mr. Turner? Unfortunately, Mr. Turner, he's right. Davy Jones has some of the best lines in the entire movie. He's been lost to the sea. I am the sea. It's brilliant. It's my favorite Pirates movie for sure. At this point in time. But yeah,
It's fantastic. This movie is excellent. I love it.
It's
should be
your
higher.
It's your favorite Pirates movie.
Should be higher.
Oh,
Should be
okay.
higher.
Well, that's gonna be interesting. I can't wait to do the recap special. That's gonna be interesting. So yeah, this movie I love the first two Pirates movies. I will stand by it. I think the first two pirate movies are great. I like the first one a lot. I like the second one because I think Davy Jones I like Barbossa more as a hero than I do as a villain. I think he's a great villain in the first one, but I like him as like having to, work side by side with Jack. I think it's a perfect dynamic. But Davy Jones is menacing. I think he's terrifying the first time you hear him. I think overall the sets, like the Kraken is one of the most interesting things in like sea mythology. I think like with you hear the rumble, you don't know it's coming. It pops out of nowhere. I think they do a really good job with it. I think this movie ends really well with Jack and Keira Knightley. Like she just pretty much says, "Fuck you, Jack," and says, "You gotta go." Yeah, like that's just brilliant to me. I think that was something I just wish they would have carried it on to the next one and made that one as epic as this one. They wasted their fucking time, but this one's brilliant. And when the Dutchman flies out of under the sea and pops out, it's just those themes. It's really good. I think the beginning is a little slow. I don't like the beginning of Dead Man's Chest, like the whole like cooking Jack and he's the god and blah blah blah, and the running across the beach because it's like that. But this is the last time Jack Sparrow isn't Jack Sparrow in the other ones. Like he's over the fucking top. He's too much to handle. These two are brilliant. He is that character. I believe that he's not just doing it for a paycheck, and he's having a lot of fun in the role. So, hands down, I have no issue. 12 would not a chance in hell in my list, but personally, I wouldn't. I would give consideration for my bottom half of my list for sure.
I also forgot to say this. That's my favorite ending of any Pirates movie, with just the Barbossa stepping in. Tell me what's become of my ship. It's so good.
Barbossa's fantastic. Barbossa's my favorite pirate character. Go ahead. You'll go last. Oh, Boatman, you can go.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. You rest. You can go. Don't fucking tell me how to run my ship. Everybody else go.
I was wondering. Good.
I like this movie a lot. It's been a while since I've seen it. It's a little long. I do love the running gag of Jack just trying to find a new hat after he loses it in the first 20 minutes. I really like the whole cannibal thinking Jack's a god stuff. It feels kind of out of place. It feels like Return of the Jedi trying to get Han Solo back. Like it's kind of like has really nothing to do. We just want to get this character back. That stuff's really funny. Like when they're in the bowls and they're just trying to swing across like to the pillar. Like that shit's funny. Like there's some good moments in Dead Man's Chest that I appreciate. Outside of that, like I really like the last 20 minutes. Like them when it's Norrington, Jack and Will, and they're just fighting over like nothing really. That shit's really good over like over the chest. And then it takes an interesting turn. It just feels weird to me that it's essentially the first of two movies, and the fact that Jack Sparrow dies is kind of interesting of an idea, especially when he just comes back. Like it almost has nothing really to do with it. And yeah, I love Barbossa. He has really, outside of the one shot in this movie, he has nothing to do. But I guess we'll talk about him later on next week. But yeah, there's some good stuff. Davy Jones is fantastic. I really just love the motion capture that they did for this movie. They really captured Davy Jones and just a lot of technical innovation that they had to do to make him. He just looks fantastic, and that's a film from 2006, and he looks brilliant.
I was wondering when we get to talk about this. I love this movie. This is my favorite Pirates. I think they take the this is just like the sweet spot. Like the first one is a lot, and I love the first one too. The first one's a great movie. But it kind of takes like that Disney-fied pirate mythology with the magic and everything, and just takes it just far enough. And like Davy Jones is awesome. I like the stuff at the beginning when they're on the island trying to save Jack. That moment where they're climbing out of the cages and they realize not everybody only one cage needs to survive, and they're racing each other. Those kind of moments. That's the other thing I think this movie does perfectly, is that pirate attitude, that pirate like lifestyle captures that perfectly. I think the first one maybe is a little too subdued. The third one goes way too far. This one is just right. Like I said, Davy Jones looks great. Davy Jones's crew is one of my favorite things I've ever seen in a movie ever. I will watch this movie and it'll take me 20 minutes to watch a scene because I will just pause and watch like the third guy from the right in the background and watch like just the look of him and what's moving on him and everything. Just so many cool creations like those like human sea creature, sea life hybrids are so amazing. I love that. That's my favorite, probably my favorite thing about the movie. But yeah, that's really good. 12, probably high, but it's really, really great movie.
Yeah, I didn't really appreciate this movie until I watched it about a month ago. This movie basically takes like the formula of like it's a mad world of like just all these different characters who all want the same thing essentially for different reasons, all just trying to work together, double cross each other. Like this movie is so much fun in like a classic way, and I love all the different character motivations going on. Why Jack wants the chest, why Turner wants the chest, why Norrington wants the chest. I think that whole Azusa scene is just so amazing. And Davy Jones is like an amazing villain.
And Beckett. We didn't even talk about Beckett.
Oh, Beckett's great too. But Beckett's not in the movie a ton, so that's why.
Okay. Final. We're almost done, guys. We're almost there.
3 hours, baby. This is the record for
This
the
is
longest
why
one.
we started at 8.
Can we talk about how this is longer than every Pirates movie?
Yeah, at this point, it is.
And I enjoy them more because you're not in it. All right,
That's
what's
fair.
your 11?
I'm very terrible. My 11 is Inglourious Bastards.
Yikes.
Okay.
Wow.
Bowman's done. Jake, what's your 11? What is this?
It is my
what
favorite.
Is some
Okay,
other
so it's no
fucking-
rubber, but it's pretty
Okay.
good. It's my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film. I saw this last night. Again, it is The Master.
Okay.
Talk about fan fucking tastic performances. Freddie Quell, maybe top 3 favorite characters of all time. He is just so insanely performed by Joaquin Phoenix. Like all his mannerisms and the way he just kind of lifts his posture and the way he looks at people is just so fascinating. Alcoholic and seaman, and he finds a cult, a movement, the cause, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Lancaster Dodd, and he's just kind of just engaged by what he has to say. And I think the best thing about this movie is the dynamic between Freddie and Lancaster. Lancaster's very uptight and very much control of who he is and his like idea of what the cause is and his Scientology-like movement. And Freddie Quell is this essentially basket case, like this crazy kind of psychotic person, and the fact he just goes along with what's going on is just so fascinating to watch. I wish Joaquin won the Oscar for this because this is like easily his best performance that he's ever given. I get if you're going to lose anyone, you're going to lose to Day-Lewis, but it's just so fantastic in this movie. Amy Adams is also really understated and gives like a really, really great performance as Lancaster's wife. And just the idea of what this film's trying to talk about and kind of make a satire out of Scientology, which is funny because Paul Thomas Anderson and Tom Cruise are kind of friends. And just the cinematography is just so beautiful. They shot most of it in 70mm, and it just looks incredible. The landscapes and even the close-ups are great. The one particular scene called the informal processing scene where Lancaster asks a bunch of questions to Freddie, and just you find out so much about Freddie during the like, have you ever had sex with anyone in your family? And he's like, yes. Or, who? My aunts. And it just keeps going on, and he reveals more about his family. His dad's dead, his mom's in the loony bin, and you just slowly like see him go like mad with what he's saying. He tells him not to blink. It's one of those scenes that's just so powerful because you see two people giving just incredible, fantastic performances. I love this movie. There's just so much going on, and he's such an interesting character, like an alcoholic person who may or may not have killed people in the war, and the redemption, not necessarily redemption for him, but just this whole fascinating dynamic between the characters, and just I love this movie. Like it's just incredible. Everybody see this movie. It's like one Paul Thomas Anderson film that like not a lot of people have seen. He has a lot of great movies, and I think, in my opinion, this is his best one.
So The Master is a movie that I didn't think I would like, but if your last name is Hoffman and you're an actor, there's a really good fucking chance I'll like you. So I think this movie's brilliant. This movie kind of hurt a movie from 2019 that I really liked a lot called Joker. Regardless, that's not what we're talking about. No one talked about your slander. But Joaquin Phoenix is a really good portrayal. He just cycles back because he does a lot of things in this movie that he does as Joker and the other one. I just think this movie works really well. I think it's the one Anderson movie that I never was like, I was so like, it's kind of like a car crash. I could explain this to like Midsommar. I was like, it's a car crash that I couldn't look away from. It's so fascinating to me of how both these characters work and how it all. And something about Philip Seymour Hoffman is just an incredible actor. We lost him way too soon. I would just imagine the things that he would do now. I just think it's incredible in this movie, and I think those two play off each other super well. I'm not a Joaquin Phoenix fan. I think he's a very weird individual, and he just is in most movies. I'm just like off put by him, but this one is just I was so glued to the entire time watching. I believe this is not for everybody, and I'm surprised it was for me. But I think The Master is a brilliant film, and I think more people need to check out The Master.
So this is one of two PTAs that I like quite a bit. I think all three of the performances that were nominated should have won over the ones that did. Joaquin should have beat Daniel Day. As much as I love Christoph Waltz and Django Unchained, Philip Seymour Hoffman is better. Amy Adams was robbed. I don't know why Anne Hathaway won for Les Miserables over her. But The Master's really well made and really well done, and it's my second favorite PTA. And it's one of two that I think are good. So, good job.
Yeah, this movie just has two really powerhouse performances all the way through it. The processing scene is great. The scene in the prison where they get in that huge fight and then he just demolishes that toilet.
You're making this up.
And the way they and the way the camera just kind of stays on them and like makes you like watch it all, like it doesn't let you look away during those like really uncomfortable moments. I really like that about this movie, and I just even like the scenes like Joaquin early on, like he's like working when he's like a photographer in the mall or something like that, and
he has to fight the guy.
Yeah, just like you see kind of how unhinged he is, and just how Hoffman manipulates his character throughout the movie, and just kind of that back and forth between them. Just really strong movie.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite scenes is the guy confronting Lancaster about the time travel thing, and it is extreme. And the way like Philip Seymour Hoffman's performance in that moment is amazing. Processing scene is great. Amy Adams is absolutely fantastic, and she should have won the Oscar that year.
Okay. Kirk, what is your 11?
My number 11 is my all-time favorite horror movie, I think. Yeah. My favorite Kubrick movie, it is The Shining. Little background on me. When I was a very young child, I had parents who worked shifts. They weren't home a lot. I had older siblings who didn't give a damn, and we had cable. So I saw The Shining way too young than I should have. I was probably 4 or 5 when I saw The Shining for the first time. And there's never been a time in my life where The Shining wasn't a thing. And it terrified me as a kid. Like whatever, amorphous concept of horror exists inside of me, it's mostly The Shining, just because it's just we watched a lot. I had nightmares about it. I was so scared, but at the same time, even then, I remember loving it and I wanted to watch it again. I remember me and my siblings like quoting Jack Nicholson around the house, and even then I think I saw something there, the performance and just like the dark humor of it, and just there was more. I somehow knew there was more to it, and as I grew older, I kind of learned about it and started to understand that, and it just really holds up. Just the claustrophobia of it, the way the movie is shot. If you ever get to watch the documentary Room 237, it's a documentary about the making and just like the impact of The Shining, and just does a lot. It shows you, like, it basically makes a map of the Overlook and takes you through scenes, people walking around. It kind of shows you how the construction of the Overlook is impossible. Just there's windows and hallways and doors where there can't be. and you're not aware of it when you're watching it, but it just adds to the feel of the movie. Just like it's like the perfect haunted house movie. Jack Nicholson is great in it. He's terrifying. Like I said, he's funny. He's very much Jack Nicholson. Shelley Duvall gets a hard time for her performance, but I think she really just personifies that horror and that helplessness, and that's the performance that Kubrick wanted from her, because he beat the hell out of her for it. And she, and even the kid is great. The kid is scary. Small cast, like I said, it's a big house, but it's very claustrophobic. And it just, like I said, for me, The Shining is synonymous with horror.
Anybody else have Shining?
Ah.
So me and Kirk had a very similar, I guess, growing up. I saw The Shining way too young as well because of my siblings, and it scared the fuck out of me. And I don't like horror probably because of this movie, to be honest with you. It gave me nightmares. I remember it so bad. Like my uncle loved it, and like he came over to the house and he would like start like when I was like in my room alone, he'd be like, "Here's Johnny," and fucking freak me the fuck out. He was just thinking it's funny. I lost probably more sleep from The Shining. I really want to rewatch this movie now, but I don't think I've seen it since I was like 13, maybe, because I want to rewatch it because I want to watch Dr. Sleep too. I want to see both of them, but it's almost PTSD at this point for me, and I don't know like how I'll feel about rewatching it because I think Nicholson is brilliant in this movie. It's just he's really fucking creepy. So, everybody else on The Shining?
I saw this for the first time in its entirety in November of 2019, the same night that I saw Dr. Sleep opening weekend. I enjoyed The Shining, and I saw Dr. Sleep, and I like Dr. Sleep more, but it's comparing apples to oranges. They're so different in terms of like one is a claustrophobic, self-contained horror movie, and the other is a very universe-expanding one. But Dr. Sleep I'll always watch first before I go back to The Shining, just because I gravitated more to that story than I did The Shining. But it's a good movie. It's just not one that I'm particularly fond of. I didn't grow up with it, so.
I appreciate this movie more than I actually like it. I think it's incredibly well made, well put together. It just isn't really something that I like to go back to frequently, but I think it's really well done. There's nothing I really can find that's wrong with it. It's just not a movie I love.
I really like this movie. I saw this for the first time last year, I think like August, September, because I just hadn't seen it, and it's just one of those movies that is just so perfectly, it's slow pace. That kind of just adds to the insanity that you feel when you watch the movie and you see as Jack goes crazy. There's a lot of great moments. It's hard to really talk anything new about The Shining because everyone's talked about it. It may be my third favorite Kubrick movie. I think it's a fantastic horror film. One of like the standard horror movies that people should see. Like just look at what the genre is, and The Shining is just so intricately presented. And it's Kubrick doing what he knows what to do, and that's to make the actors go crazy and shoot 1,000 tickets.
And we've reached it. We've reached the peak. Koho, close it out for us.
We talked earlier in the episode about Mr. Toad being my second favorite Disney movie. It's time to talk about my favorite Disney movie. That'd be The Lion King. The Lion King is a perfect movie to me. From frame one to the end, I think it tells Hamlet better than any other version. It's not really Hamlet, but everyone wants to make that comparison. Scar is the best Disney villain to me. He's so menacing, and Jeremy Irons is so great as Scar. The music's great. Circle of Life is maybe the most beautiful animated sequence I've ever seen. It's so fantastically made. Yeah, it's maybe one of the most beautiful animated movies just to look at. Just the animation is gorgeous. The reds and the blues and the greens all kind of meshing together. It's beautifully drawn. Mufasa is great. There's a reason why they brought James Earl Jones back for the remake, because you can't do it without him. He's fantastic. And yeah, the remake's terrible. But this version is fantastic. I'm sorry to crash. Sorry, but this movie's fantastic.
Somebody else had Lion King, right? No one else had Lion King?
No one likes this shitty film.
Wow.
Oh, I know.
I'm kidding.
Did I have Lion King? I can't even remember.
I think Boatman did.
I did.
I feel like yeah.
I had it at 94.
Listen, you've survived till 3 hours. You didn't even get to talk about your 11. You should be at least have a little bit of energy to continue out. So let's go.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Lion King. I'm sorry. This one is. I mean, it's just a grandiose film. At the end of the day, I think it's an incredibly epic film. I think there's so much about it that like is just like it's. I used to say that I felt like the third act kind of dragged, and I kind of don't feel that way anymore. I think like the climactic battle actually really works, and I think Timon and Pumbaa like just iconic, and the music is perfect.
Okay, so one person said it's a shitty fucking film. So shopping around Jake Marangoni as a person. I've said this before, I'll say it again. There's not a movie that draws that much emotion out of it in such a short amount of time. I think this movie is brilliant from start to finish. It has the best Disney villain of all time, without a doubt. It's Scar. Scar's the only one with actual motivation that actually succeeds at what he tries to do, basically. Everybody says it gets boring when they go meet Timon and Pumbaa. Well, I'm sorry they didn't keep slaughtering lions for you to keep you like entertained for the whole movie. But when he comes back to Pride Rock and the entire the score of Hans Zimmer's in this movie is brilliant. I will still say it's his best score. I absolutely love this score. And they also took it out in the freaking live action to put Beyonce's song into it, which really fucking awesome. Not at all. When he tracks down Scar, when Scar's like pretty much, so you do admit it, you did kill him, and like he just admits it, a murderer, puts him down. And then when he's at the edge of Pride Rock and he's hanging on and he's like, oh, I remember the scene, he gets down real close and whispers, I killed your father. It's still one of those scenes, and the flashbacks that go through Simba's eyes and the thing, probably one of the most brutal deaths in Disney movie by far. I mean, Scar gets fucking alive by hyenas, alive by Scar by hyenas. The songs are so catchy and so good. I don't like Hakuna Matata, but all the other songs I think really hit in this movie. It's my favorite movie of all time. I don't think if I did a top 100, there's no shocker. Just like some people on this call, there's no shocker what their number one is. You've heard about it enough. So this is perfect. It's probably not going to let Koho win this week just because he has it at the highest spot, but it's a good Hail Mary. I like the shot. What does everybody else think about the Lion King? Remember, words and things said during this time can affect final scores. Go ahead.
Okay, you go.
I like it. It's really good. I was a little older, I think, than everybody else here when I first saw it, so it doesn't have like that visceral childhood memory of like, I know everybody talks about like seeing Mufasa die, like what impact it had on him. I was a little older, I kind of missed that, so I didn't have that connection to it. Still a good movie, great animation, great soundtrack, great score. The parts that they say slow down, I mean, the movie's short. I mean, it's not more than 90 minutes, right?
It's not even 90 minutes.
Yeah, so I mean, even if you sing something boring, you're on to the next thing pretty quick. The other thing is, and I know you didn't claim this Koho, but it's definitely not Hamlet, and it really upsets me when people try to say this is Hamlet. But other than that, it's a very solid movie.
I think this movie's fine. I just don't have the same affinity for this movie as Cody does. You know, film is subjective. People are going to have differing of opinions on films. This is how it is. I don't like Timon and Pumbaa. I really just don't. I don't think these characters. I would rather watch animals. I would rather watch lions get mauled and all that sort of shit than watch Timon and Pumbaa. I just don't really care for them as characters. Funny. I don't get it. They're goofy. Other than that, I really like Mufasa's death scene. I think that's handled really well. I really like the ending. I like the last 20 minutes. Yeah, that's about it. Like the series, a really good score by Hans Zimmer. Obviously, animation's really good.
I'm sorry, Michael Vick, that there wasn't more animal abuse.
I'm just confused
I'm
that you
a
say
fan of depressing shit. Okay.
I know. I just find it humorous that you said that Nathan Lane is not good. Like you don't like that part of the
Nathan
movie.
Lane
But
is
you
funny.
said
I just don't like.
I know,
Timber.
but
Timber's
right. But you said through the entire Lego movie. That's interesting and cute.
Social commentary on that movie.
Okay, we're done. We've reached our peak. I've had it. Up to here. All right, everybody. So I'm going to release like I did last week in order of worst to best. Second, third, last place, Jake Marangoni. Jake just had too much fucking weird shit. Like, I mean, at your end of the day, like Punch Drunk Love, Rubber. There was some more power to you. This one's tough. It's really close. It's on the brink. But Koho's in third. He had the Lion King. He really did, which is great. And he had that, but he also had some things that just we fucking went down. You have Life of Brian, which I shouldn't have watched. It would have saved you, but it really. And you had Last Jedi, and we went on. This show would have been 20 minutes a little shorter if Boatman never fucking talked about Last Jedi. So fine. You had also Cars. Cars over Nemo. That hurts. Next is Kirk.
Not if I had updated it, but yeah.
Kirk is in second place this week. He had It's a Wonderful Life. Sorry, you had Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Sorry. I appreciate you for putting Lifeboat on there, but you also put my PTSD movie at the 11 spot, so that didn't work. But you brought in Odd Couple, which I really do appreciate. I wish people would say that. If you have my Voodoo, if you're one of the people that have my Voodoo, Odd Couple is now on my Voodoo, so go check it out. And the winner is Boatman. Boatman won it at 18 and it was no looking back, honestly. He honestly had, if you think about it, I mean, I know we haven't talked about it, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 13 I like, 11 we haven't talked about, but that's just a strong bottom half. Well done. Boatman is definitely the winner tonight. Yikes that are still coming up. Koho. So if you look at this really closely, you could see what the top 10 could possibly be. Get off the screen because I don't want to give much away. I want to appreciate the entire chat. I really do. You guys lasted a long time with us. I realized that there wasn't this probably wasn't the fastest moving, but honestly gave everybody enough time in a rotation to make it work for me. I just don't feel like letting somebody sit in silence for 45 minutes before they get to talk again, and that would just be rough. So I appreciate everybody. I appreciate Kirk. I appreciate Kirk, Koho, Jake, Boatman for sitting on here for 3 hours and 15 minutes. Next week is not going to be any shorter, I don't believe. I think it's going to be long haul. We're doing the exact same time. Luckily, it's now this instead of 11. I could just imagine all of us at 11 o'clock during this. We would probably just want 11:30. We'd probably shoot ourselves. Again, thank you. We have upcoming episodes. We'll post them later. I'm not going to waste more time with that. But thank you for being here. Thanks for doing this series. I really have enjoyed this. And if you want on top 40 comic book movies, you have to send me your list. If you do not send me your list, you can't be on. Okay. See ya.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
You better lawyer up, asshole. Because I'm not coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for everything.
Get what you fucking deserve!
Return to your lady friend. Duncan, please return to your lady friend.
Long live the king. Hasta la vista, baby.